Welcome to the Inner Hoe Uprising, the podcast about sex, love, and dating from the perspective of me, Sam, one black, non-monogamous, pansexual feminist hoe who is living on stolen Lenape land and whose pronouns are she and her.
And I am Rodeka, a fat, black, non-monogamous, existentialist femme whose life is a series of coincidences that somehow landed her here. I too am living on Muncie Lenape, stolen land, and my pronouns are she and her.
On today's episode, what would you do if a test could scientifically locate your soulmate? That is the premise of AMC's latest sci-fi anthology series from one of the brains that bought you Black Mirror. This week, two futuristic hosts, that is ourselves, are going to review that series and discuss some themes like compulsory monogamy, faith, psychopathy, and if the grass is really greener on the other side. And if you're on YouTube and you're freaking with the vision and down with the vibes, you can do us a favor and hit subscribe. If you're supportive of the hoes and want to see our success spike, do us a favor and click like. If you want to keep the conversation going during your time spent, do us a big favor and comment with your thoughts and opinions. And please, please, please click that like bell. Otherwise, you're going to hell. Another content note for the YouTubers. This is a Slytherin shirt. And I do identify as such, but I do not fuck with that bitch J.K. Rowling any longer.
We don't acknowledge the author. The book
wrote
down.
itself.
I was just about to say it came down from heaven, and we were just blessed. I don't know how. It's a holy scripture at this point, but divine intervention at this point. I don't know who wrote that.
So this whole entire episode is going to be Sam and Rodeka present Ass Media.
Hey.
Ass Media. Ass Media is a segment and play on the term mass media in which we give book, TV, podcast, film reviews that relate to sex, love, dating, and or gender. This entire ep, we are reviewing the new AMC sci-fi anthology series, Soulmates. This will be a spoiled review, so we will be doing a recap and review. If you do not care to watch the show and you just want to hear us talk about it, you good. If you want to watch the show and you haven't, we will not be releasing another episode for a few weeks, so you have time to go back and watch the show.
Stop right now.
Yeah.
And just go watch it and
go
come
binge
back.
It. You good. And if you've already seen the show, well, you're in the exact right place. You good.
You've seen it too. Let's go.
Regardless, we all good. So let's get into it. We're going to start with a short season overview and then get into it episode by episode. So what the fuck is the show, you might be asking? To me, this is Black Mirror meets Dating Around.
Yeah. I think even in seeing the commercial, and when we were trying to decide, I was like, this is giving me, it literally says Black Mirror in the beginning, but yes. It's giving me Black Mirror vibes. It's giving me like technology, how does this shape our future? So I 100% agree with you. Yes.
Yes. It is also very specifically similar to the Black Mirror episode, Hang the DJ.
Yes.
That's the one where there's like a dating app where you're supposed to meet your true person or whatever. I don't want to spoil that one. I don't want to spoil everything here, but if you've seen Hang the DJ, you know what I'm talking about. Basically, in the show, there's an app that allows you to find your soulmate, and hijinks ensue. It was created by William Bridges, who was a writer, and I guess is a writer on Black Mirror. When is that coming back out?
We're living it, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
They did the ultimate immersion. We're in it. Okay?
Shout out to them. I was like, how do you beat Bandersnatch? You just make it life.
You take off the veil, and here we are.
Exactly. And also Brett Goldstein. I don't know what else he has worked on, but shout out to Brett Goldstein for making the show.
We know you exist.
Will Bridges wrote USS Callister, which I think is one of the best Black Mirror episodes.
Okay, so
it's top 5.
Do you know what people call that guy?
I wrote weird looking Matt Damon incel episode.
Yes.
But they call him some version of Matt Damon.
They call him Meth Damon.
Oh my god. You know what? I don't like the disrespect. I actually like that guy.
I like the guy.
He's been in so much stuff, and he always does his damn thing.
Yeah,
he does his damn thing.
Great job. And like it's just he can't help but also kind of look like an off Matt Damon. Like it's
not
scary.
Off. Oh
I don't mean off like. I was gonna say budget, which isn't better, but I was gonna say just like not
off-brand, fucking no frills version.
Yes, and definitely
fucking Kirkland signature. You know, Costco's.
Yeah.
I think that's way less offensive than Meth Damon. So I petition his name to be called Kirkland Signature.
He doesn't deserve that. But
No,
that is
and also folks who are addicted to meth don't deserve that either. You fucking assholes.
I hate people sometimes, but that is, I had to say it because someone's gonna say it. In the comments. Yeah,
they call him Meth Damon.
I'm like, oh
yeah, no. Thanks guys, you fucking assholes. Anyway. So the synopsis of the show, according to Wikipedia, Soulmates is set approximately 15 years in the future when a company called Soul Connects has developed a test that can determine the person you were most meant to love with 100% accuracy. People who take the test either learn of their soulmate and have the choice to pursue that person, or they get a response of, quote unquote, your soulmate hasn't tested yet. The series explores through self-contained episode whether love is destiny or a choice. The series creator Will Bridges says, your soulmate is the person who you will love the most, more than anyone else. A soulmate isn't someone who's going to fix you. It's the person you will feel love for the strongest, and it's undeniable. Does this mean true happiness or the best person for you? Watch my episodes and find out. That last part he didn't say, but he did leave a question mark, so you know that's what he implied. Every self-contained episode has a different vibe. We got cults, we got murder. It's not all lovey-dovey, which I think is very good good to know going into it. Some themes include marriage, monogamy, non-monogamy, grass is greener, polyamory. I just said that. I love it so much that I just say it twice. Psychopathy, power dynamics, fate, faith, religion, family, communication or lack thereof, etc.
Yep.
It is a futuristic show, but they don't really get into the sci-fi of it very much. So I will just this is where the spoilers really begin. I'll explain the sci-fi of it all, which they say in the first episode. Everyone is born with a soul particle, and your particle pairs with someone else.
Yes.
And that's it.
They just throw it in there and you have to accept it, and that's what it is.
But I like that they don't get too much into it.
They just said ever since the discovery of the soul particle. So yes. Okay, there it is. It exists. Yep.
Don't overdo it, because then you become Us by Jordan Peele, and it sucks. That's what this podcast is pivoting to. Whenever we do a review, we gotta throw Us in the fucking garbage can.
Yeah, because
it was bad.
You need to know, I want you guys to know what type of people we are. And there's two different camps. There's people who like us and there's people who do not like us. And we don't like us. So if you're like, you maybe you won't agree with us, and that's fine, because I will never like us.
I do want to say
every time.
I do want to say it
wasn't a bad film.
It wasn't a bad film. It just had some severe issues. And then also, that is not on behalf of all Inner Hill Uprising. That is me, Rodeka, and Akua. Rob did like us. I do want to quickly throw Rob under the bus.
Because Rob will come back in the next episode and be like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? Don't ever slander my name like that. And they don't deserve that. They don't. So we're making sure that we say correctly. It's 3 out of 4 of us.
Yes. Other elements in Soulmates, all the screens are transparent glass because the future, that is like the only future thing. But I really liked it.
I love that.
They look cool.
Most of the time they go too far. And this is not supposed to be so far out that it's impossible.
Yes.
And I'm like, I started looking at things and I was like, oh no, we have that. Like, I think there was one person where there was a fridge that was all screen.
Yeah, the Samsung fridge.
And I was like, okay, that exists. So that it felt tangible and felt attainable. But they definitely tried to throw some Minority Report stuff in there where they were just like, he was like taking a screen and going blam. Like and I was like, oh,
he did take that screen and go blam. And I was like, I like that too. I'm very simple.
I was happy for him. I was like, yes. I was like, okay, you just had to do it, right? Even though you're having it. We'll talk about that too. But
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Other consistent elements. There's the Soul Connects logo that appears in every episode. It's a fingerprint with an eye, or the fingerprint. It's an eye it's a fingerprint in the shape of an eye. Yes.
Yes.
I think and I don't know, because I watched the first 3 episodes a while ago, and then I finished the rest for this review.
Mm-hmm.
Is it funny? The last couple episodes were very funny to me. Was it always that funny?
I definitely
or humorous, haha.
I think they built on the humor, and you did note 4 and 5, and that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Okay,
4 and 5 are intentionally funny.
Okay,
I think that a couple of moments in some of them were like, oh, okay, but 1 wasn't funny. There was nothing funny about 1.
Okay,
there was nothing really funny about 2, except no, there was nothing funny about 2.
2 was not funny. 2 was not funny.
3 had its moments, but I think could have because I like the characters.
3 was cute.
Exactly.
Was cute.
And then 4, 5,
was
and 6
funny.
were
4 was hilarious. 5 was funny, like
We'll
a
talk
dark
about-
humor
we'll-
kind of
We'll
way.
talk about 4 because Sam don't even know.
I'm quite interested.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the. I mean, I don't have any other elements that are relevant that existed throughout. It was this Red Cross motif you were talking about.
Yeah, there was
a
Red Cross motif that happened in like the last 3 episodes as well.
Mm.
I might actually look who directed that because maybe they just had a thing in there and that's why it got funnier.
They're
and
just
stuff.
a Satanist.
Yeah. But it was like very big on the screen and something that they made sure to linger on. And I think 5 it made sense because there is religion throughout that episode. Before it just felt like it was just thrown in there for whatever reason.
Catholicism, like because they were in Mexico
and where they were at. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Okay, so just like general review of the season, I really like this show. I thought it was extremely enjoyable. Like we said with our review of The Boys that you can watch on our YouTube channel, and that's the only way so you can watch it because I didn't upload it to the podcast feed. I just like shows that tell me what they are, and that's the box that they live in. So like maybe it could have been a little bit more deep in regards to the themes that they're exploring and stuff like that, but they never told me that they were going to do that. And I like how, as much as they explore, I like a lot of the cast. Just like a nerdy thing, like a lot of the cast are in other speculative fiction shows that I dig, so I'm just like, oh, there's that nigga. I just love stuff like that. It allows for soulmates to be all over the world, which is something that's always gotten on my nerves in regards to the soulmate trope. Like you're just gonna find your soulmate in New York.
America.
Yeah, it's just like doesn't
or
make
in
sense.
My block. Yeah. Always.
But they allow for that. It gets gay and it gets polyamorous, which is important to me, obviously. Some critiques, it could get more queer, it could get older, it could get more disabled, it just could get more they could have more intersecting identities. It could have non-interracial couples. And then I started to think, because like almost every coupling, not every, but almost every.
Oh, wow. Now that I'm thinking about it, only 2 weren't.
And then one of them is like,
maybe.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But like, almost every couple is an interracial couple. And I kind of get like why white people use that because it's like the future, everyone will be
different.
But also... So that's kind of like a Black Mirror thing because when we do see non-white couplings in Black Mirror, they are interracial couplings.
Yes.
Hang the DJ is an example of that.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, this is like a Black Mirror thing. Is this also a British TV thing? Because then thinking about other British shows that I've watched, it's also like like if it's not Top Boy, like
I'm thinking Chewing Gum. Yes. I'm thinking Misfits, except for a little bit, it wasn't like for like 2 days. Speaking of Misfits, shout out to somebody who's also on there.
Curtis.
I just kept calling him Curtis the whole time.
Of course.
And he doesn't have an actual name. But yeah, it's like, oh yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I think maybe it's a very British thing, which. I mean, you could have 2 dark-skinned people like dating each other. That wouldn't be so bad.
Shout out to, speaking of British TV, that's not always interracial couples. Not that we have anything wrong with interracial couples, but I mean, that's like a whole different podcast about why interracial couples are more palatable than straight up people of color couples.
Yeah.
Which is another thing. It's like white and it's never like Asian and Black or something like that.
It's so interesting because I don't want to give them so much props because I'm like, okay, at least they went somewhere, because you do have to acknowledge like, okay, you kind of went there, but you still did it in the lens. They still have to be holding palatable the hand for whiteness. A white person. Yeah, exactly. Like I get it. I don't get it, but I accept it.
I see what you were going for.
Yes.
In that vein, if you want to see some love that is non-white couplings, watch Steve McQueen, who directed 12 Years a Slave, his new BBC series Small Axe, which is all about specifically Afro-Caribbean stories in England.
Okay.
So they had one episode of it that was called Mangrove. I talked about this on the show earlier, but like it was about the Caribbean community's movement in London to basically like fight against police brutality. That is a shitty synopsis, but that is the gist of it. And like Letitia Wright is in it. John Boyega is in a different episode. It's a good series. Shout out to Steve McQueen. Yeah, that's the thing that exists. Speaking of I say, speaking of black.
And I looked because I can see, and I was like, no, she's not building that bridge, is she?
Oh,
Well, you gotta go into it.
Sorry. But anyway, this series is very dark visually and not in terms of people of color. It's just fucking dark.
Yeah.
Like you have to put up the brightness on your screen.
Dark
what the hell is up with that?
And gray.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very like
it's like the fucking night episode of goddamn Game of Thrones.
I think Black Mirror has that sometimes in some episodes. Like some episodes are intentionally grayscale or like with the tiniest bit of color in there. And then there's other episodes like San Junipero where it's just like,
this is the 80s.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So like I hate comparing it to Black Mirror, but like you wanted me to compare this to Black Mirror, so I will. Not you, like the people who created it. But yeah, it's very dark and very like that kind of adds to, is this a happy, are we supposed to be happy here?
Okay.
Or, yeah, I think that's what it is. And the music helps too.
Sometimes it just doesn't need to be that dark.
Yeah,
like when you are on the beach in Mexico, why am I turning up my brightness? I was like, is it still dark from last night when I turned it down? And it was like, no, it's on the brightest setting.
Yeah.
Weird. Oh yes, the sci-fi of it all. The soul particle thing is not good. But sure, if you don't get into it, because like in the Hang the DJ, not to compare it to Black Mirror, but yes, to compare it to Black Mirror, it was like an app with different simulations that matched you to the person. So it was like actually algorithmic activity that said you are connected to this person, but like a soul particle.
Straight up, first
wouldn't it be in your
seconds
genes?
Of the show, they were like, don't fucking think too much about this.
Yeah, they did.
We made this show.
And you're gonna fucking like it on your goddamn quarantine.
That's the first line, if not like the first 3 lines. It's like, since the discovery of the soul particle. Oh, okay. That's something that, and like, I get it. Like, I get it for like show purposes. I'm not gonna elaborate on that because then you're gonna poke holes in this. You're gonna poke. I will. Yes. I'll do it. So
I will do it. I am that asshole.
But as far as like, okay, just shove this down my throat and like I can't question it. That was a little whack because it's not really rooted in anything that can be like, I can believe that this is something that will happen in the future because like, what the fuck is a soul particle?
Yeah.
But
and then even though they do, and we'll talk about this, explore ethical non-monogamous situations and having multiple, like love for multiple people. Like, so polyamorous people like straight up, like the folks who say like I can have the same amount of love for multiple people, they straight up don't exist, or like asexual people straight up don't exist. Okay, but sure.
Yeah, they try to be all encompassing, but they've
or aromantic people rather. Sorry.
Yeah, they've definitely tried to be all encompassing, and I think when I'll talk about this later, but like I definitely think they succeed in a lot of points, things that you wouldn't think about, but then there's other things that like I would think about and they didn't try and talk about it. You know what I mean? Even just the fact that they still stuck with, like, they talked about polyamory, but they still stuck with, no, but it's still one soulmate though.
Yeah.
Like, just one of those. Yeah. And I was like, okay.
I guess.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Sure.
All right. What are your general likes and dislikes?
So I definitely like the show too. I went into it, other than seeing the initial trailer that like I think we just like threw in the chat room, like this is what we're gonna do. I don't like to watch anything else or like consume any information or whatever because not anxious, but like I will sit there and say, okay, when is the thing that they said that is in the description or whatever? Like I didn't want to know that. I just definitely want to go into it like, okay, I have these expectations or I have these thoughts and I wonder if they're gonna do it. And what I really liked was like almost all the questions that I had, like, oh, like, so how do they take the test and how do they figure this out? Blah blah blah. I think they definitely addressed almost everything and they made it where it's just like, okay, we've thought about this world. And granted, like, it may not match up with your world, but we really like wanted to make sure that you could see what this would be like from a multitude of different perspectives, which I really enjoyed. I didn't actually even know it was going to be an anthology. And that's what one of the things that I loved about it, because I was just like, I was so scared it was going to be one couple. And I don't care about anybody that much.
Yeah. I liked the first episode, but I did not want to spend 6 episodes with those motherfuckers.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. And that's why I didn't read anything. I didn't see, like, even in the description, I could see that they say we follow different stuff. So me going in, I was like, oh no, like, cool, but don't let it be just this, because I'm not even interested. I was so worried. But they did. And then what I also like was in the same thing, because we'll talk about the first episode, it was very almost conventional, but they still talked about other things. And I'm very glad that they never went to like, okay, this person's a soulmate and that's it. You accept it. Everything's perfect. Like, that's what I was worried that they were doing.
Same.
Because there was a lot of little droplets, especially in the first episode, where it almost felt like monogamy and like, oh, once I find my soulmate, everything is going to be fine.
And nothing else matters. That made me so uncomfortable. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to have some moral issues with this show.
I was writing my notes like through, like, as things were happening. And that was like one of the first things I was like, oh no, like, is this like monogamy is like it? And like, this
I wrote that too.
And I was
like,
and if this show is like that, like if we're up episode 2 and it's still like this, I'm not fucking with the show. And I was gonna say it, but I love that it subverted that expectation, and it definitely was like, we know this is what you're thinking, and we're gonna do everything but that, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, which even, I mean, we'll talk about it, but even the first episode did that to itself.
Yes. But I think it was on purpose. I think the first episode had to do that so that everybody is like myself, who had no idea what the hell was going to happen. They would go into it with this expectation of what it sounds like on paper, and it would be like, no, we're not doing that. Stay tuned for 5 more episodes of just not doing that.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed. I think it was just like, it took me for a ride. It's 6 parts. That's it. So it was just like, I enjoyed it. I think you told a full story. We're done. I had a good time. I was in for the ride.
They have been renewed for a season 2.
Oh my God.
But it could get more queer. It could get more age gaps could happen. Lots of.
There are stories that they didn't get to tell that I think that they can do in the second season.
And they better hire some writers who are not those 3 white men.
Yes.
No, 2 white women also wrote, I think, 2 of my 2 favorite episodes of the season, if I'm not correct. But just like, get the writers room more diverse. Think a little bit outside the box, and I think that this is a good world to have a good second season. Honestly,
yes, I think that it allows for a lot more stories that I wouldn't have even thought of, or even like begin to like touch the tip of that iceberg. That I think that it definitely has potential to
get weird as fuck.
It could get weird. It could get.
What if your soulmate is your cousin? Sorry. If y'all write that,
some of those questions really did come up, because I was like, if you want to be real, like, it says the person that's the right person for you, it's not always going to be cut and dry, this good person, which I think they did touch on, which is great.
Yes.
But then there's also the critique. So it's very funny. There was acting that I personally thought was super cringe. Like,
I'm curious about which one.
One episode specifically, and we'll talk about it when it comes up.
Is it 4?
I don't even want to talk about it now.
Okay.
Sometimes I wish they would have explored soulmates like not getting along or not being perfect more. I think that they touched on the fact that humans are flawed and that they have questions about this system. But I think more often than not, when the person found out their soulmate, they didn't talk about like, okay, well, this is not the person that I was expecting, and like being angry about it, or kind of just being like
Married at First Sight. Oh, that's what I should. This is Black Mirror meets Married at First Sight, not Black Mirror meets Dating.
Oh, okay, yes, because they're just straight up like, I love you now, like, basically. And I think like they could have went there more in terms of like, I think the only time that somebody gave pause before they met a person was one when it was a situation where they were already in another relationship, but also when a person was not
different gender than they were
different
expecting.
Gender. Yeah, exactly. So it was like, that was the only time where it was just like, well, this was unexpected. But then like a couple of minutes later, they're fine with it and they just go along with it. There was never really a time that anybody was just like, no, like, I don't want this to be the person. Like, but I guess there's like this openness when you take the test, so maybe they're taking into consideration. But also just like people, they did touch on somebody not being ready for a relationship, but like just like arguments and how those flesh out and thinking one thing. I think they could have definitely done more, but they are trying to tell a story on top of that. So I don't think they had any episode, even though it felt like the first one was going to be like kind of monotonous and just like everyday life. They never had one where it was just like, okay, like, we're just living, let's figure this out. It's more like there's a drama to it in each episode. So I understand that. And then this one's not a critique per se, but it made me realize in television or in media or whatever, but very much in this show, how often we use people as plot devices and then forget about them. And like, there was a lot of things where like they used this person or this action to move the story along, but then it was glaringly obvious that if we focused on that a little bit more, there would be like a hole in the whole system that you've created, or rather like the morality of this character would then be called to question, and it would make it like, am I rooting for you? Are you the person that I really want to do? Because like you've done some shit that I'm like, what? Like I wouldn't. And this is specifically in episode 2, but then there was also a moment in episode 5 where I was like, wait, we need to like focus on the character that was just there. In episode 6, I'll talk about each time that happens, because it jumps out of my head. I'm like, is this, I don't know, like you shouldn't always introduce characters for development's sake. Sometimes it takes away from the actions of another character, specifically with Allison as well, like Allison and Jody, but we'll talk about that person in a bit. But yeah, I think we're ending each one with a what would you do, right? So
yes, so the what would you do for this little portion is, would you take the Soul Connects test?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I was actually watching this with Chris, and we both looked at each other and were like, yeah, I take it for sure. Yeah. My curiosity is too strong to not want to take it, because it's not something, from what I've seen, it showed you that it could be a positive thing and it showed you that it could be a negative thing. But at the same time, there's been one situation where maybe that person would have been better off not knowing who their soulmate was. But most of the part is just like, okay, like this is going to make me learn something about myself, or like, you know, this could be a potential person that adds to my life. 2 people that they probably shouldn't have known. But we'll talk about that too.
I would take it, but not with this here bullshit that these motherfuckers are doing in every single one of these episodes. There's a lot of issues in these people's personal lives that I personally, like, obviously you don't know what you're doing in a situation unless you're in it, but like, I just hope that I would not navigate it like these motherfuckers. Like, everybody in the first episode got on my nerves.
Yes.
Everybody pissed me the fuck off. I think I would just like try to do this in a way more ethical way.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll say that bearing in mind that I definitely mean it like, not like, I don't want to do this with the person changing my whole life. I don't want to do this with the implication that like it means anything other than, okay, now I know this information. And then I'll move along. I'm hoping that I'll have like some type of calculated approach to how I do this, as opposed to just like this upheaval and now I know this, so everything has changed. I think I would just do it more like, okay, this is information and it'd be good to know, because like, why wouldn't I want to know something with 100% certainty? So one, because like, what else do I have that's with 100% certainty? That one's just like, fuck it, like, yeah, true. That's the way I thought about it. But yeah, anyway,
let's talk about sex, baby.
Woo! Do you mind if I don't do this sexy? If I can just read this, do you mind? Please.
Rebecca's gonna talk about sex in her least sexiest voice.
Thank you, y'all. Actually, this is not my least sexiest voice. It can get worse than this, but I'm gonna do it in my whatever you consider my regular voice. If you know,
I'm sure many people consider your regular voice quite sexy. That's me coming on to you. Remember that time you kissed me?
And it's so crazy because like I want to deny it. I did kiss Sam, and I have been haunted by that memory ever since.
Because I don't let it go.
because I can see it like it was yesterday.
It was, bitch. That's what it feels like to me.
You know what? I need a distraction, and this is the perfect time. I need a distraction, and Dipsea asks me, do you have a lot on your mind? In times of stress or anxiety, it can be hard to remember to take time to focus on yourself. But your joy and your pleasure are so important, especially right now. Put your well-being first with Dipsea. Dipsea is an audio app full of short, sexy stories and guided sessions that are designed to turn you on and to help you get in touch with yourself. The stories are relatable and immersive, so you feel like you're right there, and there's something for everyone, whoever and whatever you're into. They add new content every week, so there's always more to explore. Find sexy stories about a spontaneous hookup with a hot stranger, getting close with that yoga instructor you can't stop thinking about, or even stories about trying that new toy together or getting tied up. The wellness sessions can also help you unlock new confidence or heighten intimacy with your partner. They add new stories every week so you never get bored. So spice things up today with Dipsea. And for listeners of the show, Dipsea is offering a 30-day free trial when you go to dipseastories.com/IHU. That's a 30-day free trial when you go to DIPSEA stories.com/IHU. Dipseastories.com/IHU.
Very non-sexy. Yay.
Thank you. I tried my best.
I turned off my video just in case you
just
needed
in case
some
I
extra.
switched it up. Well, it helped me like not be distracted by the image of me kissing you lightly on the temple. That was
ever
horrible.
so gently.
It was us staring at each other afterwards, like, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I've never not done something awkward, either leaving or entering Sam's home. It's so bad. I try and lock the door when she's like, "What are you doing?" I try and turn off the lights sometimes. I'm a strange human, y'all.
It's all
for
bad.
real.
None of it is welcome. Anyway, let's get into the actual show, shall we? Okay. All right. Let's get into the first episode. The first episode, so we're breaking down the episodes. We're rotating. I'm doing the first one.
Yeah.
First episode is called Watershed. I will do a little synopsis. That's a little bit of Wikipedia and a little bit of my own. So after seeing her brother Peter and her friend Jennifer successfully find soulmates using the Soul Connects technology, Nikki secretly takes the Soul Connects test without telling her husband Franklin. So Nikki and Franklin are living a good, content life, but then her mind starts to think, what if there's better out there for me? You know, just like midlife crisis type shit. And her husband Franklin is like, yo, you good? You've been acting fucking weird. Like, what is up with you? And she obviously doesn't tell him because communication does not exist in the show, to be honest. In the time that she's acting weird, he also decides to take the test because once again, communication does not exist. Nikki takes the test and tells Franklin that they had her result, but she didn't even look. She just wanted to go running back home to him or whatever. And then at that time, Franklin announces that he's taken the test, wants to be with his soulmate, just as Nikki was like, I want to give us another try. So in the end, they live in separate homes with their soulmates and are co-parenting their 2 children. I think it's 2 children, maybe it's 3. Nikki sees that her soulmate is a lot like her husband. Like earlier in the episode, we see her husband droning on about work and her not giving a fuck. And then in the car, we see her new husband droning on about work and her not giving a fuck. So he's a lot like her husband, but without like the whole history of them being friends and lovers for the past 20 years or whatever. So one day they meet up to exchange the kids or whatever. And his new wife goes upstairs and Franklin is basically like, I still love you, girl. Like, what about remember us? You had memories of us? And she's like, nah, this is the life we chose, bro. We got to just go with it. And then there's also a subplot with Nikki's brother finding his soulmate, who she left her partner to be with him. I think that's the case. And then at first they're just like, oh, everything's perfect. And, you know, there was infidelity here, but we're living our best lives. And Nikki's like, this is so fucking annoying. And then it like starts to deteriorate a little bit in that they're arguing. And Nikki's like, it's not perfect. But then her brother for the first time in his life is like, but I want to work it out. So it reveals that soulmates are not quote unquote smooth sailing, but it's not all bad.
Yeah.
This is starring my homie from the OA, Kingsley Ben-Adir, who I've recently discovered that I am in love with. So I just want to. He is also in a new Regina King film called One Night in Miami, and he's playing Malcolm X.
Oh, okay.
And so let's take a moment. Sorry.
No, it's not an apology at all. I want to see.
We do have to take a moment to screen share. Let me make sure I don't have no bullshit open on my Google Chrome, though, actually.
Close them tabs, bro.
We got Twitter. Okay, let's close all of that.
That X and XX.
So this is him. And, like, that's a face that I would love to see. Let's go.
I didn't even know who he was, but I was like, this is an objectively like really
that's an attractive man.
Yeah.
There he is. Like he's only like 33 or something like that. Why does he have gray hair? Yeah. But I love it.
Me too.
You are distinguished for no blood clot reason. Please be that distinguished. Are you kidding me? Here's another one. I think this is him as Malcolm X.
Okay, look at him.
I love Kingsley Ben-Adir. Yeah. Fuck Netflix for canceling the OA. I came across this picture of Riz Ahmed for some reason, and I just want to say Riz Ahmed with blonde hair is an important part of my life as well. Anyway, okay. Let's not stand cishet men ever again. I'm just kidding.
Can't do that. We only take 1 second and then we move on.
Yeah, so themes in this episode: grass is always greener, doubt, compulsory monogamy, piss poor communication. My little notes, I knew that I was going to enjoy the show, like I was saying earlier, but the deception and lack of communication made me extremely uncomfortable. And if it was always going to be that, I might have actually had to have stopped
Yep.
watching, because everybody was just like not talking to their partners.
Yes.
And it's like, soulmate or not, love is still real. And why are you acting like you do not love this person who you have been in a relationship with for 20 years and you like have 3 kids with? Did not get that. The sister storyline made me extremely uncomfortable. Not the sister, sorry, the neighbor slash friend. She
Yeah.
like, found her soulmate, did not tell her partner she was taking the test, and was like, yo, I'm going to Argentina, bro. And they had kids. I was so mad at her.
Yeah. And then when, I'm just chiming in for one moment. Like when Nikki, her, like the neighbor's friend, this main character's name is Nikki. Like when the friend was talking about these things, like Nikki was, I thought she was the voice of reason. I said this, I was like, oh, maybe she's going to be the one to constantly be like, no, you're being selfish. And like, what did you think he was going to do? Pat you on the back. But it was almost like as if as soon as that happened, it was like the show wanted me to think that that wasn't the right thing to say. But I was like, no, like say it, sis, because somebody has to say it. And like she was just like, no, I'm sorry, like she'd back down, but very much like this is not somebody that I'm rooting
this
for.
This is not
is
normal.
Not even at all.
I don't think that this is normal. And then also another moment of that is when the brother is introducing everybody to his new wife because they got married once they took the test, and everybody's at the table and they're just like laughing over their moments of infidelity, like, ah ha ha, yeah, I left such and such, da da da. And I was like, ouch. And niggas do be having feelings though. What the fuck?
Like the guy,
y'all are moving wild.
Like, the brother was like shitting on the ex-man, like that she left. Basically. And I was like, I don't like this guy, because I was just like, granted, sure, like you found your happiness, but like why are we acting like these, like leaving these relationships because it just doesn't matter? And I thought like everyone was gonna have this cavalier attitude, or just like once you found your soulmate, like fuck everybody else. But I think they were showing that like people like actually matter, outside of the fact that you find somebody, because you're leaving behind so many different things. So yeah, I definitely like, and that dinner scene in particular was very annoying.
Another thing about that is the leaving behind, which is just like, it's not the way my brain works. It was just very like compulsory monogamy, where it's like, okay, you found this person who is your soulmate and he's in Argentina, but like, why does that mean you have to leave your wife and husband, who I'm presuming that you also love? Like, is there not room for both? So I was like, if this show doesn't have room for both, I'm about to duff these niggas. No. But yeah, so, but that is explored, and yeah, whatever, we'll talk about that. I just thought it was very typical man of Franklin to be at the end like, yo, baby, you know I still got love for you. It was just very fuckboy thing. And I was like, that's exactly what all you motherfuckers do. You're a typical man. But Kingsley Benadere, if you do want to chat, we can start at ishoopodcast@gmail.com. I'm not giving out my number on this show. No one in the show prioritizes their children to me. Like, okay, go ahead.
I'm going to point out each time that I told you that people are plot devices, but they don't matter to this show.
Oh, the kids?
Children do not matter in this episode. That is a running theme. I don't care.
The kids don't matter in this show.
The kids don't matter in the show. The kids are used as plot devices.
Yes.
But they are not seen, maybe seen once, and then like they're alluded to, but they don't matter. But like they're a big deal because everyone's kind of leveraging them in a lot of ways, where they're like, oh, don't leave him because you have the kids. One of the reasons why Nikki decides that she doesn't want to leave him is because she's recalling the time that she gave birth to their child we've never seen. We're assuming that, you know, means the most.
She had a birthday party and she was walking around. One of their, we did see one of their daughters.
Yeah, but
that's it though.
That's another emphasis. Just like, okay, you're moving the plot along, but you don't care about this character at all. But I get it. But yeah. True.
That's the whole season did that. Whole season did not give a fuck about. Fuck them kids. The whole season was Michael Jordan to the bullshit. I just I do like though, because this is soul connects does not exist and the soul particle doesn't exist, but this is how people move, in that you can be in a 20-year relationship with somebody and they will like have an affair or something like that and not tell you. Like, so I was like, okay, it's a good,
it's real
showing of an amazing thing that people do.
Yes.
For whatever reason that they do it. And yeah, this is the most typical episode that a show like this could have, and it is not this typical going forward.
And it's very much trying to set the tone, very much kind of say like, okay, this test does exist and this is how it affects a slice of life, basically.
Yes, exactly.
And I think it was necessary.
Yeah, it can't start with episode 6.
It couldn't. Exactly.
Which we'll get into.
You needed to build up to this point. So
Yes.
when you first watch it, you're very like, why am I watching this? But by the end, you're like, okay, it feels tangible. It feels like something that we could actually like have happen, and it won't be just straight up, okay, everything's fine. So I too like initially was just like, okay, there's like this weird emphasis that monogamy is equal to living your best life. I thought that was very strange. That eventually changes, but it was very much like, okay, I have to do this. I'm not going to talk to anybody that I'm with, because apparently monogamy doesn't mean that I can talk and say, hey, like, look, this is a test. It was just like this denial, this weird, like, there's no one, communication doesn't exist, like you said a million times, but does no one just like want to admit that maybe this is something that they're thinking about? It's just like, it felt like Nikki had something to prove about her marriage. So she was just like, I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm not going to like admit that maybe I'm questioning, blah, 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 blah. Great. Mm-hmm. Peter, her brother, had this moment where he's like, her sex number, his partner's sex number was really high.
Oh, that's why they argued.
Yeah, they argued, and that was their first crack showing. And I was like, you're a lame dude. Like, I
didn't like him. I did not like him.
I didn't like him at all. And then like I was like, wait, is like Soulmates like just new relationship energy? Like, you're just doing wild shit, and like it's just like versus people who have actually established something, and it's just like, nah, like this person's for me, like I'm gonna run along. And I thought that was so funny, because I was like, all of y'all are just like walking down the street.
They are acting very fucking relationship energy.
I'm dropping
everybody's teenagers,
and it's like weird. So that's why I put NRE. I was like, that's all this is. That's what this whole show is about. And I was like, before they talked about like the arguing or whatever, I was like, do the soulmates mean that all the relationships are now easy? Which to me feels strange, because I'm like, yes, you're guaranteeing a good match, but that's not how relationships work. It's not like things are just gonna automatically settle into place.
Get each other 100% ASAP.
And then I had questioned about whether or not they believe in more than one soulmate. I don't think that was ever really addressed. I think it was mentioned. No, even then, I don't think it was ever addressed.
I feel like it's no, but I don't think that they said no enough for that to not open up next season.
Maybe season 2. Yeah, exactly. And then it was like a very, I was worried that the whole show was going to be straight, like heterosexual, cis het, whatever. And then how did their relationship deteriorate so quickly? Because like, they were this strong
they were couple. So tight, talked about everything. We've been best friends since college, And it was just like, nah, niggas do not chat about things.
And when
big things, small things, we do not chat.
When the show jumps time, it specifically tells you that it jumps time. Like it'll say 6 months earlier, or it'll say 3 months later, 2 weeks later, whatever. I was like, so I'm here to presume that their relationship went from the envy of all of their friends, even though this test has existed this time. It didn't just premiere in this episode. But like within that week, it was like, now like everything is over. Like I cannot do this. Like I'm not talking. Like, so that was weird. And then I was like, what is perfection? Like the question that what's his name? Franklin. That question he asked, like the last thing he says, like, is it worth it or something like that? Like basically questioning, yeah, we've done this, and yes, I have the soulmates, but did we make the right decision either way? And I like that that's how it ended, because it makes you want to keep going. And it's like, okay, no one here is completely convinced that this is the right thing to do. And I needed that to keep going. Another
thing like that this brought up to me as a question was just like, how do we know that this is real versus is it like this new relationship energy or this product that you're being sold, or this idea that this person is perfect for you?
Yes.
Like, is that what is making you think that this is perfect and for you to go head over heels and all that kind of shit?
Yep.
And then it also reminds me of shout out to both my dad and In Those Jeans podcast, which I produce. I don't think he thinks this anymore, but at some point my dad thought that like direct-to-consumer genetic testing that like tells you that you're from X, Y, and Z place was just like bullshit. Like they would just like they asked for your name, so they're just like, oh, where does Sam X, Y, and Z what does she look like? Oh yeah, so African descent. We're gonna say African descent. Like so I'm just wondering like if Soul connects, like could be doing that. Like, are they just like taking, because at this point we have given way more of our information to Facebook, Twitter, are they just taking like who they think you'd like in the world and matching you up with that way? Like, is there a soul particle?
And I had that question too, because I was also like, okay, like, sure, again, it's hard to digest that there's a soul particle. So like, as a human watching this, I'm not going to think, oh yeah, like they definitely just use the soul and that's what it is. So I was thinking, like, what metrics are they using for perfection? Because like, you know, these are things that she actively didn't really like about him. She didn't like the fact that he was talking about work all the time because she thought it was boring and she assumed other people would find it boring. So like for her soulmate to also, and they made sure to nod to the fact that like, this is also a person who likes to talk about work. Like, what metric are they looking for? Does she need someone who talks about work to keep her safe?
Yeah, and what is perfection? Staying together?
Exactly. What is it? Because I don't know what is the soulmate thing? And then it's like, okay, if this person might be right for you, and he asked the question out loud, but it's also a question that you think about. But what does that mean? It doesn't mean that you're going to be happy. It doesn't mean that like on paper, this is the person that's going to keep you. I don't know. Is this a relationship that will just last because? Or are the relationships now lasting because they know this person is their soulmate?
Or that because they believe that this person is their soulmate.
That was something where, like, with the brother, he makes a point to say, like, oh, like, we'll argue, but we'll make it work. We'll always make it work. But he was literally regurgitating what Nikki had said a couple of scenes earlier, where she said, you know, me and him, we always make it work. So I was like, did he actually learn or anything? Or did he just think to himself, like, okay, like, my sister
because I have certainty now that this is my soulmate, I
now
can apply healthy relationship practices.
Exactly. So it's just like, how much of it is like, this would work because you told me it's going to work, or like this would work because if I met them on the street, this would happen anyway. And I think it's a little bit of both. I think they acknowledge the fact that it's definitely like, it has to work. There's this like this franticness of it has to work. So a lot of people are staying together or doing it because that's what Soul Connects has created. The test ain't free, so they know they're selling a product either way.
Capitalism is your biggest love in this world, baby. All right, our what would you do for this question is, what would you do if you were, for this episode, is what would you do if you were having doubts in your relationship and curious about taking the test?
I see, that's where it changes. Like, when I was thinking before, when we said, would you just take the test blindly? I'd do it. But like, if I'm having doubts in my relationship and my only motivation is to take the test, I'd fucking talk to my partner. Like, I'd be like, hey, this thing exists. We've been doing this for a while, but like, do you want to take this? If we take this, like, are you okay with knowing that we're making it work? All of these things that she acknowledged on her own, like, that's something that I would have done before I went to go take the test. And I would have had a conversation with him and probably reached that point before I'm like sitting in the chair. And now it feels like she hasn't driven him to take the test. He was going to take it whether or not he wanted to. But it was very much like, if you had this conversation maybe early on in the episode, instead of this vehement denial that both of you guys were going through, maybe you could have, it wouldn't have gone through a shit show. You wouldn't be in these separate relationships that clearly you're not happy in. So yeah, I don't think that I would
be like, oh, she reminds me of you.
Exactly. And be like, you know, I can see why, and probably even like strengthen your own relationship, and knowing like, okay, these soulmates are this, but like, I found this on my own. We big on communication here, and this show made sure these characters couldn't communicate, because then we wouldn't have even had an episode. This episode is called, if you don't talk, you're gonna end up with somebody you don't even really want to be with. Because that's what it was. But what would you do? Would you have taken the test?
Exactly the same. I mean, I am the same fucking bitch who, when I was having not doubts in my relationship, but when I was thinking about, oh, I want to explore ethical non-monogamy, I was like, oh, hey, do you also want to explore ethical non-monogamy? Oh, you do? Okay. Hey, let's talk about boundaries. Oh, hey, let's learn more about this. I would have like fucking done the shit out of my research on this shit. I would have read people's encounters. I definitely would have, once I found out who the person was, Facebook stalked them. It would have just been a whole thing. It would have been a whole thing. But like, yeah, it's first and foremost would have started out with communication, and not just like, oh my God, I think I need to take the test. Like randomly on a Thursday afternoon, like Nikki did. So, all right, let's go into episode 2.
All right. So episode 2 is The Lovers. And I did the same thing as Sam. I added a little spice of my own, but it's mostly from Wikipedia. So, college professor David Maddox is confronted on campus by Allison, a woman who shows him his test results, revealing that they are a soulmate match, even though he chose to have his test results blocked. So that's another thing that you can do in this universe. You can block the test results. You can take it and just say, I don't even actually want to know. Even if the person takes it, that's something you could do, which I was glad you could do that too, because I was like, now I have to like know the person.
You just know me. You know my business.
So Allison reveals that she hacks Soul Connects to find her match and continues to pursue David despite his assurances that he loves his wife. I love my wife. He says that a lot. And he who also is his boss's daughter. So he's dating his boss's daughter. His dad-in-law doesn't like him. So I think that he feels a pressure. It's obvious that he feels a pressure to be a good husband, to be a good professor, because there's this super hyper lens on him, both in and outside of his career. David ultimately gives into temptation and sleeps with Allison, only to discover that she's hiding a more sinister motive. That's the description. But basically, to fill that out, David turns out to have had a sexual allegation against him. This comes out towards the end when he's trying to go for tenure, and his father-in-law actually makes a move, because that's his son-in-law, but endorses him for tenure, and then they all find out that he has a sexual allegation against him. Up until that point, we're kind of rooting for David, just because like he just seems like an everyman, and he's just like trying to make it work, and no one likes him or whatever. Even though there's moments where like this guy's a little weird, but like it's never really obvious. It just seems like, he's trying not to give into temptation with Allison. But Allison just seems very adamant on being in his life. And I'm like, maybe she just really loves this nigga. Like, she really wants to be with him. But it turns out that he had a former student that he had a relationship with, or maybe might have just like abused. We don't know which one. He says that he was in a relationship, but the other stories say that like they just slept together and he used her. And she became obsessed or upset. We're not sure. Just very much not reacting well to the ending of their relationship. And when things ended, she ultimately killed herself as a result of the trauma and the stress of the relationship. And then we find out that Allison is actually Jody. Chloe is the girl that David had a relationship with, but Jody is her sister, and she's out to exact revenge on David, which explains why she's here, showing up, very trying to push herself into his life. It turns out that David actually doesn't even have a match on Soul Connects. She just made the whole thing up. And she first uses another student as a pawn in her game by creating a false narrative where they're having affairs. So she sends his dick pics to the girl's phone, the student's phone, using a copy of his phone, and then like she sends them back, etc., etc. So I'm gonna pause here because this is another person that I said this show is using people as plot devices and throwing them away. Now, Jody is very adamant on the fact that she does not want anybody to be abused in the future, anybody to be like, subjected to the same abuse that David has subjected her sister to, right? She used a person
like
as a plot, like as a 19-year-old. Her whole thing is like, you are a terrible human being, and like I want you to rue the day that you ever even encountered my sister, and I'm going to make you pay for it by ruining your life. But she ultimately ruined another person's life just to get her revenge on this dude. And then we don't even hear about this person again. They are a throwaway, like traumatized individual. And then when that didn't even work, she threw the whole plan away. It wasn't even a thing anymore. So I was like, what? Like, if we focus on that, like this whole episode kind of just like, in terms of Allison or Jody ultimately being the good guy, if you focus on that, you're like, no one in this episode was doing the right thing. Like, no one in this episode was the good guy. I started to think towards the end, I was like, get it back. But I was like, look at all the things that you have done to get to that point. So it wasn't really, and I was like, how does this make sense to Allison or Jody? They're the same person. Because like, what happened to the student mentally? You could have continued this cycle without even thinking about it. But anyway, David finds out that Allison is Jody, and he confronts her in a hotel room, basically like threatening her. And then it turns out that he thought he was fine. He thought he got it over with because he was like, I know who the real you is. I know who the real you is. Yes. And I like back down or I'm gonna ruin your whole life. And it turns out that encounter she recorded, and at the end of the episode she shows it in the classroom, and everyone kind of sees who he is as a person. And she was in the back of the classroom apparently the whole time and ran out, which I thought was fucking hilarious, because I was like, bro, you didn't see this chick in the back? Like, this is the one person. Yeah, she just had it. I was like, this is the one person. Like, if she was sitting in your class, you're like, yo, bro, what are you doing here, son? But she ran out, and like, I don't know. Maybe you couldn't see that far in the back. That's fine. But this is starring David Costabile.
This thing is really David. Wow.
His name is David as David, but I call him Ricky Gervais. Like,
he does look like
he looks like him, and I was like, Yeah, that's who it is. And then Sonia Cassidy as Allison. I don't know anything that they're in before. They didn't seem recognizable, but you know, we're shouting out people. So there's a theme of art. The name of the episode is The Lovers, and they kind of talk about like the lovers being disguised. It's a painting where like they're not really looking at each other, and I think they're trying to parallel that, because what is love, and if it really means anything when someone comes up to you and says, hey, I am your soulmate, because they were both blind to it, but he had you want to believe that he convinced himself that she really was his soulmate, blah blah blah. So I think they tried to parallel that. And then the cycle of revenge was definitely a theme, because it was just like, I'm watching you do this, and then I'm pretty sure you just messed somebody else up in this process, like the girl that just like is used as a plot device. And then like, did she really win? Was she really the good guy? Was it really worth it? Blah blah blah. And then the wife's life is ruined and all that type of stuff.
A lot of lives were ruined.
Yeah, for which, granted, it's a big deal, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. So I'll start with my notes. So it was a huge departure from the first episode. Yes. I was like, holy shit. I was so happy, because I was like, okay, you are taking this universe, and in this episode, there's really no, like, they talk about soulmates and they talk about soul connects, but it's used as manipulation. There is no soulmates. There's no actual soulmate. There's no soulmates at all in this episode actually like linking up and doing soulmate shit. It's literally her hacking into the system, or really just making something fake and using this app as a way to get into someone's life, which I was like, holy, okay, we're using something in this world and creating something. That was awesome. Very much made me excited to watch the rest of it. There was not a lot, but towards the end, there's an episode of Black Mirror called Shut Up and Dance, where at the end, everything goes to shit, and you think like everything is fine, but then everything goes to shit, and they get a phone call, and the wife calling, going, what is this, David? What the fuck?
That was very similar, yeah.
I was like, this is the same episode at the end. Very tense, especially the last half. Like, there was just like the camera panned out, and like you would see like these long scenes where she's like walking up the stairs and then he's somewhere else. Like, it was just a different
cat
show.
And mouse chase.
Yeah, but it was such a different show cinematically, or like directed, like director wise. I was like, how did this shift happen from like this I hate everyone to I don't know what's gonna happen next, I'm on the edge of my seat, which was awesome. I had questioned, I don't think that he didn't do it. I just said, they kind of leave you with that question of, did he really do it? Or like, did he really love this person? And blah, 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 blah. So I was kind of wondering. And then I put, what happened to the student? Because like, I was really concerned about what was going on with the student.
She seemed unwell.
Somebody was blocking the door of like her dorm room. Like, like everyone knows that you kind of used her or whatever. And then she's never heard from again. So I was like, okay, that sucks. And then there's this Chance meme that like, when he so he says I love my wife like 5 times in this episode, and then at one point in time Allison goes like, you've been telling me, I heard you. And it was so funny to me, because it was just like, I love my wife.
He is Chance the Rapper.
He's Chance the Rapper. And I was like, that was a good time. But yeah, overall I really like, this was the episode that made me want to keep going as opposed to the first one. And I just definitely think that they went all in on just like, what are soulmates? Are people convincing themselves, especially in the fact that Allison was able to sort of manipulate him, whether or not he was using it as an escape device or whatever. But I do genuinely believe that he thought that she was his soulmate, and she almost used it like, do you feel that energy? Because they talked about it a little bit in the first episode, where they're like, you know, when someone takes the test, you can almost like feel it, and that's like
the pull. I think they call it.
And like, that's not something they ever confirm in the show, because they're very much trying to let you think that it's rooted in science. So they're not ever saying like there's going to be something where it's like, oh, you feel it on top of it. It's just like an energy, a chemistry. But like, this one very much manipulated. It was like, do you feel it? And you start thinking like, maybe I am in love with this person. And I do like the fact that they made it, again, rooted in reality, where it's just like, nah, I can manipulate this and like make you think that I'm really this person just because this test says so. So that was cool too. Yeah,
I love how the show created that the myth or whatever, well, myth, because not all myths are fake, but like it's a story that circulates. So the myth of the pull, because there's one moment where was it David and Allison, they hug, and then it's like the whole time he's like, I love my wife, I'm not gonna cheat on my wife, and then they hug, and then it seems like something sparks, and I was like, there's the pull. You don't see the pull. I was watching it with nobody, but I was like, there's the fucking pull, man, there's the pull. They should have never hugged. Now it's all the shit, only to see that they were not soulmates in real life. It's like, I like that the show is like poking holes in these narratives that the characters tell themselves, so we don't really know what the quote-unquote science is, or if there really is a soul particle. So yeah, that was cool. To your note about Allison, I don't think that she was a good like she seems like a very like anti-hero kind of character, where it's like, okay, I'm going to do something for my purposes and you can root for me, but I don't give a fuck. Like it's like the dead wife trope where like, oh, Deadpool's wife was killed, X, Y, and Z's wife was killed, blah blah blah. I'm going to enact all this revenge, but along the way I'm going to kill some other people's wives.
Yeah.
It's like that's
and you
that's
don't
who she was to me.
Yeah, okay. And I think for me, I always search for a hero or like a person that I'm like, this is the good person in the episode. And this show definitely challenged that because
you hate a lot of people.
Yeah. Or just like sometimes there just isn't a good person. I think this episode was a matter of just like no one was necessarily good. They were just people being people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The good person in this episode was actually David's wife, who I just thought she had really pretty hair.
The first thing that I said was like, oh my God, they want me to do this to my hair so bad. Because every time I see a character.
Such a nice fucking dye job.
Such a beautiful dye job. It's fucking like, I was like, oh, her hair is so silky. They did it on purpose. And then like, I was watching it with Chris and he was just like, no, like she just has straight hair. I was like, no, they did that on purpose. They want you to look at her hair. It's just like flowing. And it's just, I love that. That little piece in the front where it's a lighter piece of hair. They knew that was the main character of the episode.
She was.
Like, that was the
we
only
stand
good
David's
person.
wife, actually.
Yeah. Straight up. I was like, no, you can't do this to her. She has the hair. Like, I was like, I actually was really pissed at him because I was like, do you see her? Yeah. What? But yeah, when I saw your note, I was like, thank you, because that is all I cared about in this episode. Like, that's the key takeaway. Her hair was amazing.
It's funny. Yeah, for sure. The whole confirmation bias where it's like, oh, you think someone's your soulmate, so now you're head over heels for them. Love that.
Exactly.
David screen swaps in this episode. He pulls a screen from like his laptop or something and he puts it on the wall to be on the TV.
Report.
And I'm like, this is the technology that I need, son.
Yes. That was a pivotal. I'm glad you wrote that because I said it earlier. But that was like, they were like having fucking fun with that moment. All
right, we're not fully in the future, but like, let's do some futuristic shit,
son. Like, and it was like this moment I was like, okay, you didn't have to stunt like that, okay? And like, it was unnecessary. He could have straight up been at a computer just typing, but they were like, and it's the only time it happens.
Zoom in.
Yeah, I'm learning. Let's do this. Face mask. It was awesome. That was cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it was funny. I think what is this? Yes, I think my last note is just imagine fucking your sister's ex-boyfriend / I don't know, maybe like assault her for revenge. I don't know, man. That's
there was a moment where they showed the montage of him realizing that she wasn't who she said she was. Mm-hmm. And I think like right before they had sex, she had this look of disgust. And I was like, oh God. And then I started thinking like, that is a lot to go through to get to this point. And I'm like,
I loved her fucking sister.
She did. That was the only person she ever loved. So I was just like, okay. But that was definitely like a, ooh. And I guess that brings us to the point of like, my question was like, would you have gone around the same route, or would you have gotten revenge on David if you were Jody? Or if you did, like, would you have gone the same route? I can already answer and say no, because I keep thinking about this one person, and morality wise, it's too shaky for me to justify getting to that point.
Yeah, we're definitely not going the same route over here. Revenge will be enacted though. Do not fuck with my family.
That's a fact.
I think I just would have been smarter about it. Sorry, Allison. I don't think that it was a very good plan. It was very harebrained schemed. It was very episode of Snapped for me. And I need
like I'm just doing this.
Yeah. We're gonna use sex. We're gonna use deceit. Don't think I would have done that. I'm more so like a social media campaign, like consistently ruining his life. Like, oh, you're trying to get tenure, nigga? Guess what? Like, I'm standing outside with my book. Like, do you know what he did? Do you know what he did? Like something like that.
Yeah. Or even in the moment when he was in the house, like when he was with his wife, maybe she didn't know anything. Maybe he could have sat down and been like, hey,
like I had a whole affair with it. Like your husband had a whole affair with the student. Like,
yeah, like the mind game, sure. Like you want to really get into his head, but like there were so many opportunities. If you could have just cut to the chase and like ruined this dude.
Yeah.
And it just felt like you were going for it in this emotional big blowout way that I definitely wouldn't have done.
Also, a person didn't need to be used. Like, I'm sure this is in the future. Like, deep fakes will probably be better. Like, you could have like faked the kid, faked a student or something. You didn't need to use a real person.
Yeah.
But is the conversation in this episode so far resonating with you? That would be kind of weird. I mean, I guess our takes, but like not the show. Oh
maybe
yes, I do use Soul Connects.
I'd only say because maybe you watch the show and you feel the same things that we feel.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So is the conversation this episode so far resonating with you? Is it helping you learn some new shit, helping you unlearn some old shit, or just allowing you to have a good ass time? I think that you're saying that it is. And I'm saying we love to fucking hear that. We would also love for you to support the continuation of conversations like these. If you're listening to us on a podcast app, take a moment to subscribe to us or drop 5 stars and leave a rating review for the homies. If you're watching us on YouTube, take a moment to subscribe. Take a moment to click that bell to get notifications and take a moment to actually like this video. If you got a little extra change, you can drop some cash in our PayPal by going to paypal.me/innerho, or you can come join our Patreon community and access our chat and virtual events for as low as $2 a month by going to patreon.com/innerhouprising. That link is in the show notes, or just hit up your friends and say, yo, listen to this podcast, or hit your friends and be like, yo, these niggas do really good reviews of shows. Okay. Episode 3 is called Little Adventures. Our synopsis. Adam and Libby.
You knew.
Not a good thing.
I see what you were doing there, bro.
Thinking about pussy. Anyway, Adam and Libby are a happily married couple in a semi-open relationship. They've been together since Libby was 18, and I'd say they're in their late 20s, early 30s.
Yep.
They allow each other sexual liaisons, but only via a traditional hookup app. Libby is really the one who wants it, and she wants to hear about like all the zest and what happened and how the fucking went, and he's uncomfortable with that. But he's content with it and mostly doing it to make her happy. Really. Libby calls them Little Adventures, hence the name of the episode. So Adam one day is disappointed to learn that Libby took the Soul Connects test years ago when they were on a break. Sidebar for communication: if you did it on a break, just say, hey, I did this. But that didn't happen. That didn't happen. So she's now received her soulmate match. So Libby and her soulmate Miranda are both surprised that they were matched with another woman, but still find themselves attracted to each other. So at first they're like, oh my God, we'll just be best friends. Like, I'm not interested in women at all. Like, isn't that so crazy? Isn't that so wild?
Convincing themselves more than us. Because
Exactly.
I was like, okay.
Exactly. And then at first, Adam is just like whipping his dick around. He's like going to Libby, be like, don't sleep with her. And then he's like flexing their wedding video to Miranda and like, oh, look at the pictures. We're married. We're so married. And Libby's like, that's weird. Please stop doing that. Adam is a teacher and he loves kids. Libby thinks kids are weird, honestly. So one day, they were actually on a break over the fact that he wanted kids and she didn't. That's why they broke up in the first place. One time she's in a cafe with Miranda and Adam walks by the cafe and Miranda has actually convinced Libby to hold and nurture some random Black woman's child, which was very weird to me. I was like, I'm not giving you my kid, but this is the future.
Plot device, but okay.
Kids is plot devices.
I know what I'm saying. If we're talking about themes here, kids is plot devices is chef's kiss, because I was like, why would any of this happen? But
that was weird.
We need to make it work. So I get you.
Adam is jealous of that because he's been like kids for so long. Miranda and Libby both bond over being artists. I'll talk about this later, but the art was garbage. It was so bad. It was so bad. Miranda goes back home after palling around with her quote unquote platonic soulmate. Then she gets hurt by a man one day and drives or takes a plane. I don't know how she came back, but she travels a long distance all the way back to see Libby. Adam's not there. They kiss and then eventually they fuck. Adam walks in on them in bed with a couple because him and Libby were actually supposed to be swinging that night. Talk about awkward.
Yes.
Adam says, I am no one's second choice. And then he dips out of Libby's life. Libby and Miranda start to go together and they do a lot of I like art girl type shit. And they hang out with like a sapphic band of happy lesbians and dark clubs and things like. There's a lot of wine involved. It's great. A few months into the relationship, Miranda learns that meeting her soulmate did not fix her commitment issues. That's another thing. Miranda has commitment issues. While Libby longs for the nurturing only Adam could provide her. Libby tells Miranda, I miss Adam. And Miranda says, I miss him too, which was so funny to me. Libby returns to see Adam like one day outside of his school or whatever, and he informs her that his soulmate Tyra will be arriving from England. This is like my favorite part of the episode, my favorite line, and maybe even in the whole show because it was just like me as a human being. Libby looks at Adam, does like a cute little smirk and says, well, we can make it work.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yes, non-monogamy. And also gayness. And just like that, compulsory monogamy is thrown out the window with just a little bit of communication, right? Like not even a whole thing, just a smirk and a we could make it work, baby.
Yep.
So Tyra, Adam's soulmate, arrives to find Adam, Libby, and Miranda together in the house, explaining that each one of them needs the other for different reasons. And Tyra agrees to just have coffee with them, but not anything else. But that's like it's a cliffhanger kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
So this is starring two lovely people who I've never seen before. Shout out to them. One of them, Adam is black. Libby is a white Spaniard.
Yes.
Yeah, so another interracial couple. But Miranda is a woman named Georgina Campbell, who was in Hang the DJ. Yes. Look at her coming back to Black Mirror type work. So it was cool to see her again. Some themes involve monogamy, polyamory, flexibility, non-traditional family structures, commitment, and nurturing. These are my notes. The open relationship. I was just very excited that it was an open relationship. So I was like, the open relationship.
I was so giddy based off of because I knew it was happening when they were like, how was your night? And I was like,
yeah, exactly.
I was so excited.
And so now you're talking my language. I thought that when Miranda came, it was just going to be her being their unicorn. And I was like, this nigga Adam is living the life, huh? But I like that there was tension there and that he was jealous.
Yeah.
And just that whole kind of thing where like people think that when a woman is introduced to a quote unquote heterosexual couple's relationship, she's just with the shits and the man is with the shits. But there's like this.
Yes.
Miranda's not really into him and he hates the thought of her at first. I just wrote down it's gay because I was very excited that it's gay. The art, crap, you froze.
Needed to be said.
Yes, it was not.
Yes,
it was not good. The art was not good. It looked like Scribble Scrabble, didn't it?
It was so funny because it was like the one part where like Miranda finally like gets into her art and she has this exhibit or whatever, and everyone's like, "This is so good!" Like, oh man, like
just don't show it.
It's unfinished because of this, and I was like, I feel like Miranda was like, "Nah, bro, like it's unfinished because I didn't want to finish it," and like. It just wasn't good, and it was on the floor, and I wasn't digging it. I wasn't digging it at all.
Don't show it.
Just allude to it. You're absolutely
exactly.
Right.
You don't got to show it because you're not paying people to make good art for your show.
Yeah, and then Libby's like, "Oh, but this is a quiet whisper." And I'm like, "That's a regular ass logo. Like, there's nothing exciting about that." But
none of the art was good. They were full of themselves. Honestly, that's why they were soulmates.
The art is the plot device that is thrown away, and never used again.
Exactly. I want to take a moment to talk about the you're not allowed in poly relationships.
Yeah, that's actually one of my points. So go on. I put rules, and that's what I was like.
The moment where Miranda is introduced, like she already did Soul Connects. We can make it work. Like it just has to be a make it work, not a do this, don't do this. Yeah. But the moment Miranda is introduced, this nigga Adam is like, do not fuck her, point blank, period. And it's just like, it reminds me of like when people open up their relationships and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, we're open. Don't fall in love with anybody else. It could happen, son.
Yeah.
So instead of being like, don't do it, don't do this thing that could potentially happen and is not within your control. It has to be like, if this happens, how are we going to navigate it?
Yeah.
At what point are you going to tell me? What are we going to do going forward? What kinds of conversations do we need to have, especially with something as powerful, if this technology really exists, as the soulmate technology?
Yeah.
So like that is where Adam fucked up with that ultimatum shit. Yeah, once the door is open, it's open. You gotta talk about it. You can't close it. You can't close Pandora's box. Yeah, I wasn't sure, like we said in the first episode, if the show was like anti-polyamory or not. I was very angry at it. Yes. I had hatred in my heart when this episode happened. I was just like, yes. Libby looks like a puppy.
Libby is adorable.
She gets whatever. That's why she gets whatever she wants. That's why she could just be like, we can make it work.
And then it was just like, we're making it work now. That's it.
Because you look like a fucking puppy. Yeah.
I loved her. So I understand.
I too loved Libby. I wrote down at one point, this is the definition of grass is always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
And then thinking back to it, I was like, no, that's actually not what this episode's really trying to say.
That's more the first episode.
Definitely that's the first episode. To me, this was like, this revealed itself to be the abundant pastures are greenest.
Yes.
Like where as many of your needs can be met. Exactly. How very socialist of them.
Yes.
I love some socialism, gayness, and polyamory. Anyway, yeah, this was the happiest ending to me in all of the episodes.
Yes.
Yeah, this was the happiest ending to me.
It was also
But they do.
very cute. They
It
filmed it
was.
in a very cute,
Yeah, it was
fun,
ta ta ta
this
ta
is great
ta
moment. And I was
ta ta ta
smiling from
ta ta
fucking
ta
ear to
ta.
ear. As
Yeah,
soon as she said, we can make it work, and the door, like that whole
and they were
scene,
all there
and
in the
then like
house,
they
just like
popped in
popping
there like,
up. Yeah,
hi, hi. It was perfect. It was so cute. And this was like, this is what I wanted. This is what I needed. Thank you.
yes.
And it was amazing.
Yeah, I loved it. And then Adam is living the life because him and Miranda are gonna fuck at least once. So this nigga's getting all kinds of puss up in here.
And that is a direct connect to my harem fucking post, because like one of my bullets. But yeah, basically this was very like quick because I was immersed in this episode. But I put polyamory, super excited about that off the rip. I didn't like the rules. It made me uncomfortable because I was just like, please don't let this be like the only representation of polyamory. And people were just like, I'm just like not going to do this and you can't do it. And it also led to the cracked monogamy thing because I was like,
oh yeah, they did say that.
Where did that come from?
That.
I was like, no, don't do this. Call this polyamory and like actually acknowledge that. Like,
what was that? Her friend said, you've cracked monogamy because they're doing liaisons or whatever.
She said it. She's like, I think we've cracked. Like, she was like, what if you fall in love with somebody? And she's like, that won't happen. And I'm just like, you can't be certain of that. Like, what is this? You're still calling this monogamy even in this scope? Okay. And I had questioned whether or not the show would ever say, can a soulmate actually be best friends? Because they did talk about being best friends, but then they like immediately became lovers. So, yeah. And then I was like, maybe it's the right person, wrong time. I thought they were going to address that because Miranda was like, I love you, but I don't know how to love you. I'm still this same person. And I think that that kind of leads back to my critique of, I feel like they didn't lean enough into like, I have this missing piece in me, or like these are certain things that like, yes, you are the right person, but I don't know how to be this person for you. And I think that what they did, while I loved it, they used a band-aid and were like, okay, I can't be this person, so let's just have more people, as opposed to like, okay, I love you and I want to be committed, but I don't know how to be committed. Let me fix that as a person and grow and figure that out, and let's learn together. It was more like, yeah, Adam can do that, so let's bring Adam into this, which was like fair, because no one person should have to be all of those things. But I wish like in another episode they did have that, but then that person was just like, let's work through this, as opposed to like, that's not why you should be in a polyamorous relationship, even though it's great and is an aspect to it, because you shouldn't expect any one person to be everything for you. But I also think like in that context, it could be a little bit damaging, because it's just like, okay, we'll just add another person to the mix and we'll make it easier,
and not work on our issues. Exactly. It would have been nice if they also just like went to couples therapy.
Exactly.
In addition to bringing on Adam.
Yeah. And I did like at the end that it was just like, I just love the ending. It was so cute. But I did like that it was just like, I can't be this one person because that's crazy. Like they said something like, I can't be everything for her because that's unexpected. Like that's something you should expect. And it was like a nod to like, yeah, that's really what it should be. It was my dream situation.
Me too. I was like, this is ideal.
Yeah. And I was like, this is great. Like every moment I was just like, and there was definitely some pockets of, I think, the most communication between a couple in this episode.
For sure.
Because it was just like
and flexibility.
And flexibility, realism, where like even when Adam was upset, he would say things like, well, she's your soulmate, of course something was going to happen, or this, that, and the fourth. Definitely like a moment of just like talking through things, or even when she was just like, that's an ultimatum, you weren't making it work. They were growing. They were definitely the most communicative. They just could have done better. Like, don't say I can't do this now, because now I'm going to want to do it. You know what I mean? There's like certain things. But I definitely think that this was just good. This is, if not my favorite episode, one of my favorite episodes. Top two. But yeah, and I was also like, okay, there was no other men introduced in this. Like, it's three women. Look at Adam. Great.
Old big dick Adam over here.
Yeah, they didn't want to go too far with that, but they did. But it was also nice that it was almost all people of color, or like she's a white Spaniard, but
she's a zesty white. She's white. Fine. And then the woman from England was white, but it was cool to have two black people in the house.
Yes. Leads in a positive polyamory situation. Yes, so I was definitely down for that. I love that.
For sure.
Yeah, so I fucked with that. Yeah.
One thing I want to go back to, because I lied a little bit. I said we never had non-white couplings. In the first episode, I'm remembering what was Kingsley's name? Franklin's new wife was Asian, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Okay.
So there was a black and Asian pairing, which yay.
Very quick, but yes, that did exist.
Yeah, one clap. The only reason I remember that is because I brought up the Wikipedia page and I wanted to shout out Jessica Knappett? Jessica Knappitz. I'm so sorry, Jessica, who wrote this episode.
Oh,
So, like,
nice.
she was that and episode 5 were the only 2 episodes where women were like the lead writers. So,
Got it. Okay, cool. Shout
yeah,
out to you.
exactly. The what would you do for this episode is what would you do if your soulmate was in a triad and asked you to be the 4th?
Don't ask us this shit. Fuck yeah. Oh, yeah, it'd be a great time. Because I'd be worried that this whole soulmate thing, everyone's like buying into, like, oh, it's just gonna be monogamy. But like my soulmate would ask me this because that's my soulmate. And if it's my soulmate, they know polyamory is what's gonna happen or something. So
Yeah.
nah, it wouldn't this would happen. This has to happen because that's the only soulmate that I would have.
Yeah. I think that I would have to date all of them first though. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
just
true.
it's not
You
this
can't-
NRE bullshit. I'm not moving in with the 3 of y'all
True.
and fucking toilet seats is up and kitchen sinks is
Yeah.
disgusting and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. And then what does I wrote this question. So, but like, what does the 4th really mean? Like, because
Yeah.
when they approached her, it was like, come join our life. Maybe it's like I have an apartment down the street. Like, maybe I'm just like distant
Yeah.
from y'all, but I fuck with you. But I would definitely
entertain the idea for sure. But you're absolutely right. There are steps to that. We don't just jump into it. I may not like Miranda. Like I could only like
seems like an
Adam.
asshole.
Yeah. Or maybe I only like Miranda and I don't fuck with, or like I like Adam and I don't fuck with Libby at all. Like I like the fact that Miranda's in and out. So yeah, definitely date them. But
you're my soulmate, but I hate your fucking wife,
yeah,
bro.
Yeah. It could happen. It's one of the most unconventional situations, but I'd be down to try it out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Fun episode. All right, let's go into episode 4. That's all you.
Episode 4 is called Layover.
And you hate the acting, I think.
Mateo has a layover in Mexico for an evening on his way to meet his soulmate match, Miguel, in Colombia. Mateo meets Jonah in a bar, has a sexual encounter with him. They have a mutual jerk-off session, and he later discovers that his passport is missing at his hotel. He tracks Jonah down, and it turns out that Jonah took his passport and his money, and Jonah either gave away or sold his passport to a woman named Khaleesi.
That was funny, yeah.
It was hilarious.
And they never talk. They
don't. But they know that we're all like,
yeah.
And they go to Khaleesi and they get their fortune told by Juanita, which is a person who's also there at the fortune telling place. I don't remember what the fortune was, but they do repeat it. It's like something about there will be a turn of events in your love life.
Yeah.
Very like foreshadowing. Then Mateo is like, okay, but where's my passport? And Khaleesi says it'll be $3,000 to get it back. After Mateo learns that it needs to be $3,000, he and Jonah embark on a wild night of thievery, gambling, and infiltrating a criminal organization. They go to the club, they get body paint put on them, they race cockroaches, then they lose all the money, and then they go steal stuff from the crime people. And all the while, the police have been chasing them throughout the episode, and Mateo thinks that it's for him, but it's really for Jonah. They get tied up, and Jonah tells Mateo to leave after he's freed by the 2 captors, because the 2 captors are like, oh my God, you're taking the soul test. We love. And it was like kind of cute. Mateo pretends to leave, but then returns with a misdirection, which was also fucking hilarious because he shouts misdirection and he just like does this grenade thing and it gets crazy. Mateo ultimately retrieves his passport, but is conflicted about leaving Jonah behind, just because they're talking about like his potential soulmate is Miguel, but he seems like a boring dude who's just like very like I have everything together, and Mateo doesn't have everything together, and I think he's looking for, or it's very much obvious that he's looking for that stability, and he's trying to find himself in this person. And Jonah just kind of like, don't do that, like be your own person. But Jonah also encourages him to meet his soulmate, and Mateo presumably leaves for the airport. But then we leave with this last scene where Jonah's flirting and doing his same I'm gonna pretend like I don't know Spanish or something scheme, but really I'm trying to rob you with another man at the bar. And then he's surprised to see that Mateo's like leaning back up, and he's just like, that's a fine way to get in trouble or something. And it's cute. The ending is cute. I will say that.
But Rebecca hated the whole episode.
I hate this fucking episode, yo.
Love this episode.
I hate this episode. Okay. It is starring Bill Skarsgård as Mateo. Sam loves him, and Nathan Stewart Jarrett as Jonah.
I love him too.
We know Bill Skarsgård from It, Pennywise, and then we have Nathan Stewart Jarrett as Curtis in Misfits,
Mhm.
and I love Misfits. So as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh great. There's some themes. There's a Red Cross in this. They really highlighted that. It was an over the top, campy. I'm assuming it was on purpose. It had to have been on purpose.
It was definitely on purpose.
Yes. And then there was escape, like just like escaping the police, escaping your life, escaping routine, just like a lot of escape and running and doing all that type of stuff, both metaphorically and physically, actually running a lot. But I can't unsee Pennywise while looking at Bill Skarsgård. So that is the first thing where I'm staring at this guy and I'm like, I want to see you as anything else, but I cannot. And then in the beginning, it was like, does this show want me to believe that Mateo is Hispanic? Granted, I know there is white Spaniards, right? But I was just like, I don't. Bill Skarsgård is a very like Russian looking. Is he Russian?
Scandinavian.
Scandinavian. Sorry. That was terrible of me. I don't know other cultures like by the way that they look. But I was like, do they want me to think that he's like native to Mexico? But then that wasn't a thing anymore. But I was just like, I did for a second. I was like, what? But anyway, no, that's not a thing. I did not like the acting in this one. I know, and the thing is, I see what they were doing. It's the third episode. You want to switch it. No, fourth episode. Fourth episode. You want to switch it up. You have to break up the pace because we had intense, a little fun, and this one was just like straight up out the gate fun. Like it was clearly supposed to be insane. Like even the misdirection, I was like, fine, okay, you were doing this on purpose. This was supposed to be like, we're running around. But then I just felt like the pacing was off because I felt like everything was happening at once and I didn't really connect to the characters in the beginning. I was distracted because I know that Jonah or Nathan has an English accent, and I think that he was doing a weird queer voice and also trying to be American, and it was distracting because I know what his voice actually sounds like, and it was very different and felt a little lilty, and I was like, okay. But then I think also like, I don't know what Bill sounds like, so I wasn't expecting him to sound like that at all, and it was just like, was that also a queer voice? Were they doing that? I don't know. And then I just wasn't digging it. Like I never got into the episode at all, and it felt kind of empty in comparison to the heavy themes of like these other episodes, and it felt like that was intentional, but maybe that's not what I was looking for. But I did love the ending. I thought it was so cute, like, you know, that little like, well, you know, you run into some trouble like that. I just thought it was really cute, and they knew what they were doing, and I think they wanted it to be fast paced and just like sometimes, and what I'm thinking I really did love that I didn't write down, but I did love the fact that like this was the first time they were like, fuck that soulmate shit, like love and like real like new relationship energy, but I don't care, like I just want to have fun. And it was definitely supposed to be fun, but I could not get into this episode at all. I was very much waiting for it to be over. And it was bad. Like I was like, oh okay, like I kept saying like I'm just like not digging this.
That's very funny.
It's so funny because I know you enjoyed this episode. I know you did.
I fucking love this episode. I think this harks back to a Patreon only conversation that we had where we discovered that Rodeka does not like sitcoms. And this is funny because I know like a couple of episodes ago, me and Akua were like, we don't really like sitcoms anymore. But I think that's because like sitcoms aren't written to be funny anymore. I think that's bad. But I do like goofy, campy shit. It's not my go-to, but I can live and I can play in that territory. So every episode of this show has like remind me of things. So like the first episode was very like family drama, like maybe an offshoot episode of This Is Us or some shit like that. Little fires everywhere, something like that. Episode 2, very snapped. Episode 3, I can't peg something like that, but like a rom-com, like a cute little rom-com.
Yes.
So this episode for me was just like Bad Boys 3, 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, buddy cop / buddy criminal, just doing bullshit, be gay and do crimes. So I really enjoyed it, but like humor is subjective. So I'm not gonna fucking, if you said that you liked Us, then that would be an actual conversation to have.
Then we'd have to,
but we can't really argue about like what's funny and not funny. So sure, I'll give you that. Pacing, that's interesting. It was fast. I don't know. What else did you say? The voices. So Bill Skarsgård, he is from Scandinavia, but I think he's like traveled around. I think he actually does just sound like that though.
Okay.
I've watched like a couple of interviews with him because I do like it, But I also really, really like a show called Castle Rock, which is
I've heard of that show, but I've never watched it.
It's anthology in that every season is a different story. So it's also Stephen King. He's creepy as shit in that too. And it's just like, he's just so funny to me. Like, he's so big, but his face looks like a baby.
Yeah.
He's so large.
Like a man baby.
Yes, he literally looks like a man baby. And then just like in real life, like he plays all these menacing ass characters, and in real life, he just seems like a very nice and pleasant person. So I'm just like, oh, this is him like getting to be that nice, pleasant, goofy kind of thing. So I really enjoyed seeing him in this being like goofy as shit and like very panicky. Like, he reminds me of John Cryer's character from 2.5 Men. I know that you don't watch sitcoms, so that means nothing to you, but just like a male Karen, kind of like, oh my god, not this, not that. As opposed to like the fucking kid in Castle Rock, who's very, very disturbing, very scary person. So I really enjoyed that. It was good to see Curtis again, because I haven't seen him since Misfits. I didn't think anything of the voice. I was just like, oh, that is not how you sounded, because you're English and your voice was a bit deeper. So that's interesting. Yeah,
I think that you can do, for me, it was just like, I've watched the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can do an American accent, but he was almost making his voice a little too high and lilty, like very, and I was like, this is, and it was distracting to me. And I think in those two characters, my issue, and I can acknowledge, I was not subverting my expectation. I was very much going into it with expectations, and I was not allowing myself to immerse myself into the story, but rather just like, you Pennywise, bro, like that, or like you're English, like, and that's what I kept doing. I kept going like, why wouldn't you just let him be English in this? Because there's other English characters. So that's why I kept going. So I was like, maybe I even before we recorded this, I was like, maybe I should watch it again. But I'm like, I'm just gonna go through with it. But I understood that it was supposed to be funny, and I appreciated the show for putting it in there. I think it needed to be in there because all the stories were serious before and after. And this one was very much just like, no, we're just like having fun. But maybe it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, which is fair. Interesting that and then maybe it's because it's like you spent 2 seasons with Curtis.
Yes.
But Miranda from the last episode is also English. Actually, a lot of these people are not playing proper their ethnicities.
And I looked at her and I was like, why didn't they make her English? That's exactly, but I guess maybe because they wanted the other character to be English at the end. It was like a big deal. But
that was a big deal for no reason.
Yeah. It was like, I don't know. But like for her, I feel like she didn't change her accent though. Like, even though she was doing an American accent, she didn't become sing-songy or anything like that. It was just her doing an American accent. I don't know what, and that's why I was like, why were they doing that? Like, maybe that's just his American accent, because some people don't have it perfected. Maybe that's just the way that he does it, but it was distracting for me. Yeah.
Coming at fucking Curtis. Like,
I'm so
do
sorry.
better, bro. You and Jax Teller from Sons of Anarchy got to work on that shit. That was one of the worst American accents.
Inconsistent and all that. Like,
The show had like 5 seasons. He never got it together. Like, Charlie Hunnam, I will fuck you, but like, you got to get that together. I'm just saying actors who I want to have sex with.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Any one of you guys listening.
Podcast
at
right, exactly. I think that's pretty much it. Like, I thought it was super cute. I thought it was very sweet, and I was just having a good time. I really enjoyed the be gay, do crimes element of it. There was one moment where I was like, don't get deeper than you are. So there's one moment where I think I was slightly not paying attention. So I saw Curtis smoking, but I didn't register that he was high or that he was smoking weed.
Yes.
So then they have this like and it's like conversations that I've had on fucking vacation, being high with motherfuckers that I didn't know. This whole like, oh, this big universe out there, like kind of shit like that. So he has like a moment like that where he says something that's just like a little bit ridiculous. And I'm just like, are they trying to make a point here?
Nah.
And then he laughs and he's like, I'm sorry, I'm mad high right now. And I was like, okay. You're never taking yourself too seriously.
This episode didn't take itself seriously at all. And that's what I enjoyed, because even at the end, I was able to be like, you know what? They wanted this, and they wanted it to be like fast and just whatever, just throwing yourself into the situation. And they did that successfully for sure.
Yeah. What would you do for this?
Would you have gone back or not met your soulmate? Like, would you have gone back and just said,
if I was fucking with Curtis, not because he's Curtis, but just like if I'm feeling a vibe and I don't even know this new person, I think I can phone in, I think I can send an email and be like, Just be honest, honestly. Why
Yeah.
not?
I don't think I
There's
would
the
have
thing,
went back.
communication. But like, oh, you wouldn't have went back?
No, because I think I know enough about new relationship energy and just like subvert, like being in that thing where I would just be like, that was fun, but like I'm gonna meet this guy because this is like what I was doing anyway. But like I'll call him if we're down to do something. Like I don't want to live in like leave all my possessions behind and go live in Mexico. So like I'm not doing
Yeah,
that.
They were living a fucked up life.
Yeah.
If not because it's Mexico, because Curtis was robbing people
he was actually doing crazy stuff. Like it's nothing to do with the location and everything to do with the character.
If I was Mateo, because like that is not the life that I want to live. But if I was Mateo and I was feeling that vibe, then
Maybe.
yeah, I would have went back and prolonged the situation with my soulmate, because then it's like, oh, then we're gonna have like regret conversations where I'm over here meeting this nigga and I already have this expectation in my head that he's super boring, and I'm thinking about what's going on with Mexico with Curtis. So
yeah.
And I think like what you said earlier, like, oh, my soulmate would understand or have empathy. It would be like, I want to live more of my life right now.
Yes.
Please understand.
That's actually true. Yes, I can agree with that one.
So yeah, if I was fucking with Curtis, then yeah. But if I wasn't, like,
I just go on my way and be like, I don't want to do all this. That was fun. I made it out alive, and I'd like to like, keep moving at this point.
Exactly. You're living a dangerous life, my guy.
Yeah.
So watching TV shows like Soulmates can be a wonderful way to zone out from the world and forget about issues weighing on your mental health. But when the show is over, the issues still do be there, though. So we got to make sure to be intentional about staying on top of our mental health. So I got to ask, is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Is it perhaps the oppression of your people globally? It'd be like that for me too, man. It'd be like that for me too. And that is why I'm thankful that I get to process that with my fellow oppressed minority therapists over at my favorite teletherapy service, BetterHelp. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. There's a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas, and the service is available for clients worldwide. You can log in anytime to your account and send a message to your counselor. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp, along with we here at Inner Heart Uprising Podcast, want you to start living a happier life today because you deserve that. Visit their website and read their testimonials that are posted daily. You can also visit betterhelp.com/IHU, that's better HELP, and join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. The service is just that darn good. We have a very special offer for Inner Heart Uprising listeners. That is you right now at this very moment. You can get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/IHU. Once again, that's betterhelp.com/IHU. Okay. Episode 5 of Soulmates. We got 2 more to go. This episode is called Break On Through. I'm going to give a content warning, and you can check the link in the show. You can check the notes for the show to see when you can skip through to avoid this content warning. But I'm going to give a content warning because this episode deals with suicide. So, synopsis. This opens with found footage of a woman named Heather's life. Heather likes to travel and climb shit and live her life to the fullest. Very bucket list tease. At some point, she takes the test, and at some point, she is revealed to us, the viewer, to be the deceased soulmate of. I wrote down Kurt Cobain, but his name is Kurt. But for the jazz of it, let's call him Kurt Cobain. So Kurt is attending a grief counseling session with other people whose soulmate matches have died before they could meet. Kurt tried to kill himself once because of this. His parents are religious. His mom is very upset that he almost sinned. Not that she's going to lose her son, but that he almost sinned. After the meeting, Kurt bonds with Martha. Martha is an older woman from the group, and the two share a sexual encounter. They fuck in a bathroom. It's his first time fucking, and he nuts in her. That's not emphasized in the show. I just found that very interesting that occurred. And I just assumed that because it was his first time fucking and I didn't see a condom grab. So I'm just like, y'all You
Straight
had
up.
unprotected sex. You had unprotected sex. As Martha walks away, Kurt apologizes out loud to Heather, his deceased soulmate match. Kurt is targeted via personalized ads by a cult that promises to unite people with their late soulmate matches in the afterlife via assisted suicide. He's using the transparent GPS in his car, and there's literally an ad that says something like longing for your deceased soulmate. And this is why you need to turn off personalized ads on Twitter, because niggas will try to get you lined up. You gotta turn that shit off. Do not give these niggas. Use data. I mean, use a VPN to protect your data.
Yeah, you should.
ExpressVPN as a sponsor.
Sponsor us. I was about to say, I see those at the end of YouTube videos all the time. Sponsor us.
The cult is clearly a for-profit organization, but not to the people involved in it. They test people's commitments off rip, and they have them drink some fake arsenic that just knocks them out. Then a few scenes later, they're like, yeah, since you're dying, please give us access to your entire life savings so we can continue to fund this mission, this godly mission. At one point, a guy is like, wait, why do you need all my money? I want that to go to my kids. The kids as a plot device. And then the cult leader is like, nigga, your kids hate you for what you did.
Do you know where they're at? He went in. What kids?
That was a Savage moment, son.
Open your phone. Because we would. He said that'd be a good idea.
Yes, Madison with the nails. Yeah. So he said that they hate you for what they did for what you did to their mom. I was assuming it was leaving their mother for a dead woman, but it wasn't explained.
I didn't know. I thought like he hurt the mom or something like that, but I guess it makes sense, like leaving. Let's go with that. But like he said, like if you knew where they were at, but I guess maybe like the mom took them. And he just like really preoccupied with her being the dead partner.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So eventually that same man is found hanging. Did the cult do it? We really don't know. I think that they did, but it's not explained. He's just hanging. And Kurt Cobain finds him. Maybe Kurt Cobain is not the best.
Because it was keep going.
I've already done it though. Sorry. Anyway, it's because I like Kurt as a pun. It's because Cardi B says it. Yeah, it's not because of the connection. I just made that. I'm gonna stop saying that now. Martha, the older woman from before, is also at the camp. Big reveal. Kurt reveals that he's 25, and she's like, "Phew, I thought you were way younger." And I was like, "Why did you fuck him then? What the fuck?"
But then she also kind of alludes to the fact that she's there because of what happened between the two of them. And I was like, did she feel guilty because she thought he was really young? I don't know. She did say she was like, that was the kind of like the catalyst of like why I'm here. And then she was like, oh, but it's really, and he was like, oh, okay. And she was like, oh, it's really because I have a lot of love to give and I don't know where to put it. But I was like, nah, it's because you feel guilty about this shit and you were like running away from your problems, bro. But that's fine. That's what I got there from that.
Interesting. I just took it as like they had a conversation about their partners being dead, and she was like, "I'm ready to meet this nigga."
Maybe it's both.
Could be. Yeah, it could be all. Could be all. So at some point they agree to be quote unquote death buddies. They hold each other accountable to the cult's process and encourage each other not to chicken out. That's the point of having the death buddy. They also fuck. I think it was only one time that they had sex.
Yeah.
And they have sex in the graves that the cult has instructed everyone to dig for themselves. This episode is obviously dealing with some dark themes, but in addition to 4, I thought this episode was very funny. There are just some beats that are like,
this episode,
you're just dark comedy.
Hilarious. And I think that's why I was like scared for myself, because I was like, why couldn't I find that last episode funny? But I kept saying like, this is so fun. I was like, wait,
it's two different kinds. They're both funny, but it's two different, or to me, it's two different kinds of humor. Like this is very much dark humor and like subtle. Like it'll be after a tense scene and it's like a beat and you're like, oh wait, did he just say that?
And when he was like, when they first get there to do the arsenic, that was funny. But he was like, okay, we're now gonna test. And he was like, we just got here. I was rolling because I was like, yeah, we can't talk or something beforehand. Definitely dark humor. Definitely like, they had to know this was crazy. They had to know that this was like not
normal,
serious, or very dark comedy. But I was worried that I was just finding these things funny, but it was
it was definitely intentionally funny. I'm gonna look back. I think a woman also wrote this episode, so there you go. But yeah, so they they have sex in the graves that the cult instructed them to build. After the sex, Kurt is like, let's just be together, let's just live, and she's like, nah, I don't really want that. drink the Kool-Aid day comes. It's like arsenic and vials or whatever. She decides that she wants to live life with Kurt, but he's moved on, which is kind of weird. I kind of hate when things like that happen. Like when one character's like, listen to me, and the other character's like, I don't care. I can't hear you. But he does one of those kinds of things. They actually drink the arsenic or whatever it was. Then they're walking away to their graves, and she's like, yo, I was trying to say back there, let's live. Like, you couldn't shout it earlier.
You didn't see me give you the eyes, bro. I was trying to let you know.
Oh man, they begin to vomit a lot, which is very disgusting to me. But sure, it's very grotesque.
Yes.
Episode. They a van drives by, and it's clearly like a cult van. But Kurt is like, "Yo, stop, son, please."
And I was like, I was cracking up because I was like, what did you think? Yo, come on in, bro. You decided you didn't want to do it. They killed that other dude, man.
They literally killed him, and you found his body. But they they don't stop, obviously. And then they do stop. I think they hit him. Maybe. I don't know. Whatever. They're on the side of the road. They don't stop for them. They stop for the cult leaders. Kurt sees the cult leaders, and he's like, can we go to the hospital, please?
And the cult leaders look him in the eyes and slam the door. And it was hilarious. Because it was like, what did you think? You're in the woods.
The episode, excuse me, emphasizes that Kurt is like young.
Yeah.
And I think like it also emphasized like not only like young in age but young in experience. Like his soulmate did all the things, he did none of the things. So I think that's kind of getting at that. Like he has this naivete to him. But
oh my gosh,
it's really funny. So the fans just leave with the money that they took from everybody. Kurt passes out, and his soulmate, whether in the afterlife or imagined, slaps him and is like, nah, you're gonna live, basically. And that's ideal soulmate behavior, point blank, period, but very fitting for a woman who always lived life to the fullest. Yes. So it's cute that like, oh, he never lived his life, and his soulmate, her life is over, but she's still encouraging him to live his life. Like that is truly a soulmate. So Kurt carries Martha with this newfound strength that I don't know that he had, but
they both took arsenic.
They both took arsenic.
But he's out here carrying it. I saw it. I was like, this is
he's passed out. She's just good. No, she's passed out. He's just good. He's kind of vomiting, but he can carry her distances. This big ass woman. Not big as in she was like in a sexually like large woman. Human. She's just a human being. Yeah, she's a human being. She's not a baby. They get to a roadway, and a man this part, bro.
And you already know
a man is coming. A man is coming, son. And like Kurt goes out on the road and is like, stop. Okay, sure, driving, yes. Split second reactions. But like there's one field to the left of him and there's a tree to the right of him. And why did he swerve right? Why does he swerve right?
Like it's open.
This man swerves into the tree. Kurt like opens the door and is like, yo, please help us. Like this man didn't just get into like a fatal accident. A potentially fatal accident. And then Kurt,
he's good.
The man was in fact not good. Kurt moved with his strength, but I love this episode. It has its issues, but I still loved it. But
I love this episode too.
With his strength, he's able to pull this guy. He gets in the car. He also pulls Martha into the car. They all drive to the hospital. Kurt gets Martha out of the car and leaves that man in his car. And then
back to the theme of plot devices, not caring.
This time it's not a kid, it's an old man.
I was fully like, wait, when the last things is like, we need an ambulance on the street. We need two gurneys. I was like, two gurneys.
I was like, yo, there's a man in the car. The paramedics acknowledge Martha and Kurt on the side of the road, but they do not acknowledge that man in his car. That poor man, son. That poor man.
He's in there and they're like passed out. So he's gonna be in that car. Like, no.
I just need a paramedic with like a good eye to see that there's a man. And then they're like, yeah, we're gonna live, and that's the end of the episode.
Life buddies?
Exactly, yeah. Life buddies.
Yeah, it was funny. This is a very funny episode.
Yeah. It's starring Malin Akerman, another Scandinavian. She played Silk Spectre in Zack Snyder's Watchmen, and it's also starring Charlie Heaton, who plays Jonathan Byers on Stranger Things. Shout out to season 1 of Stranger Things and no additional season going forward. I'm so sorry. Some themes involve Carpy that fucking DM, bro. Live your life. Fear of the unknown, cults, and scams.
Scams. Hilarious.
It was your life saving, son.
And like the way he was framing it, it was perfect. He was like, you must let go of your earthly possessions and send them to me. And I was like, dang, this is yeah, it was a good time.
Also, the fact that like nobody realized that like the cult leaders took the arsenic but didn't pass out. They just
I was like, wait,
it was
why
water.
did he take it with all that? And then he was like, why did he do that? I was like, wait, is he in the van? That's a lot of moments where I was like, nah, they're wild with this one. They know it, and they're having a great time doing it.
Yeah. My little review. This episode reminds me a little bit of Love Alarm. Quick 1 minute spoiler of Love Alarm. Skip forward 1 minute if you don't want to hear that. Do you care?
No.
Okay.
I read this. So
it's a Korean drama. And there's an app, which it's not like Soul Connects. It doesn't tell you who your person is, but it tells you who loves you. Like within your near vicinity or whatever, like your love alarm will go off. So there's like a whole subset of people in Love Alarm whose love alarms never rung. Like technology been out 5 years and never rung. Imagine what that does to your psyche and your self-esteem. So a lot of people start to kill themselves because their love alarm never rang. So it kind of reminds me of this in that sense. Not a great show, but entertaining if you're...
I might want to watch that. I'm not gonna lie.
Like if it's like, you know, you're home for the holidays and you kind of want to escape from your family, you just want like something on in the background. Love Alarm is good for that.
Okay, cool.
So many funny moments. Like when it's just like we gotta drink the freaking arsenic or whatever. When he Kurt asks, "Are we having breakfast?" Or
and it was like, and they knew
when the man who is found hanging.
When they first get
there, they take all their phones or whatever, and he's like, "I just got an upgrade on this thing."
It's just lines and just like moments where it's just like when they laid down in the grave and they try to make it romantic, but you're like, you're in a grave right now.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
There's so many things just like like it was poking fun. It was just like this very serious topic, and they were like, we don't have many funny episodes on this, but we're gonna make this one funny.
Make cults funny.
I did like that choice for sure.
Yeah, it was effective. They did it well. I just thought it was like, wow, that this guy, Travis, the man who was found hanging, left his wife to be with the dead woman.
Yeah.
Like imagine that, son. Mm-hmm. Ouch.
What?
I don't know what my self-esteem like is.
That's why I respected that cult leader for like kind of ripping him. It was like, don't sass me. Give me your money, because you don't even know who your kids are. Like, you left them. You're good. It was very funny.
Oh man! At one point, I thought that Martha was gonna get pregnant because they were just fucking unprotected. I was like, "Oh, what's this arsenic gonna do to the baby?" I don't know. Maybe a spinoff. The end was very disgusting to me. They were vomiting a lot. That's all.
Stuff like that doesn't bother me, but I can understand why it would.
Yeah, it was clear vomit, but I was still just like, ugh, please. And it was like those moments were drawn out. Like it took a while for the paramedics to even realiase that they were there.
So they were on the ground, like
but it was supposed to like
emphasize the helplessness of the direness of the situation. But yeah, it was excessive. It was. Yeah. But I didn't, I understood, but I guess because I don't find like vomit disgusting. But yeah, my first thought, like in the first 2 seconds after we find out that is it Heather's dead, I was like, oh shit, like I just didn't even think about that at all, because I was like, this perfect world, blah blah blah, imagine going to like the clinic and then that person's dead.
It's like, ouch, man.
It's insane. And I'm so happy that they went there.
Yeah,
so like I didn't even think about this, but yes, and this is the episode and it's a support group. I was like, are they against it religion-wise? Like, are they against, like, I thought they were against finding a soulmate in general, but it turns out I don't think they really touched on that. I think they're fine with it. I wrote, we just got here because that was a funny line where he just like, well, we're already killing ourselves. Like, I wanted to chill. And then I thought it was cool that they matched up, because they really got you into it, where they're like, it's a small-time guy who's never seen beyond these four walls, and he would have been matched up with this world traveler, and he never got to like meet this person. And not of course, but like I can imagine the enormity of the situation for this character, who felt like they do emphasize a lot of the time in this show about like the soulmate being this missing piece and really like creating like this future with this person, and like literally like I will be able to live my life. And in this one, this was so literal in the fact that like he literally would have changed his life being with somebody who was always doing stuff like that. And all he could do is imagine it. It was like, I was like, this is so sad, but so good, because it just really makes you connect with this character. It was hilariously weird. I was hoping it was intentional. And then it was when I heard the little lines. I was like, okay, I don't just think this is funny. This is supposed to be funny. It was just like finding love with the cult, the death buddies, the life buddies, sleeping in the grave. It was like this juxtaposition of just like really dark topics, but we're finding love here. I prefer this type of dramaticness or this type of over the top like campiness in a way. And then the guy in the car, hello is what I wrote, because I was just like, what are we doing? Like, this guy, I am concerned for this man. And like, they never brought it back up again. And we just throw away people. And maybe all shows do this, but I have never noticed it so much as I did in this show.
Because it's an anthology. So it's like very
every
glaring.
person matters. Yeah. Like, you're like, every person I meet, I'm never going to see them again. So let me find out like all I can. And it's very much like, wait, I'm like literally never going to see this person. What's going on? So I think that's what it was. It was very much like, okay, why did you give me this person then? You didn't have to do that. And every person matters, and like, I don't know, I don't get to know what happened to this guy, but yeah.
So what would you do for this episode is, what would you do if you learn your soulmate is already dead?
That's tough. I mean,
I know I'm crying for a long time. Like, in general, like, niggas I don't even know be dying. I just be like, I am hurt.
And it's like
that's just the emotional ass nigga.
I can't imagine like the hopelessness of the situation, because it's just like you didn't get to meet them. And then like this test is telling you that this is the only person that will ever truly like connect with you.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Because like it's not accounting for the 99% soul particle out there.
Yeah.
Like,
and you'll have your moments, but like I think what they did up until the point of joining the cult was right, in the sense that like they were honoring that person. Or like if I was like for example, if I was Kurt, I would probably like lean into, okay, why was this person matched up with me? Because granted, we live completely different lives. So maybe that would be like more of a motivation to be like, okay, well, I matched with this person for a reason. So maybe I am this person who does like to travel and like to do this type of stuff. And maybe they would have been the balance for me. So maybe even just like in that moment, obviously be sad, obviously, but then like, okay, maybe I should start traveling the world to honor Heather, but then to also be like, honor that part of me that would have connected with that person. And definitely just like that's all you can really do in terms of in real life in general, but definitely in this situation, just kind of like know all I can. I think they were doing that, but like make that a part of me and kind of live through what they could have added to my life. I think that's what I would have done in that situation.
Same. One thing that Kurt himself actually did in the episode that I did not mention in the synopsis is that he mentions that he like called her folks. So I definitely would like do a little, if they were consenting and stuff like that, like do a little, like I turn everything into like a challenge or an adventure or something weird like that. But it would be like, okay, she traveled the world. I'm a small town person. This is obviously why like we are such a good fit. Let me start off my journey of embarking on the world first by visiting her hometown, and then visit her friends in like kind of like a Heather world tour or something like that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All
right.
That was a good episode, and another one that made me think they are challenging everything but what you would think in terms of like this test, and they're building this world that is very interesting. And I was I have 3 top episodes, and that is one of them too. For sure.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Now we're wrapping it up with episode 6. Take it away.
All right, episode 6 is the power ballad of Caitlin Jones. This is an episode, y'all. So they ended off the anthology, the series, but now it's just a season with Caitlin. So Caitlin is portrayed as this super helpless, almost spineless victim. Obviously she's gone through some things, but there's moments where like, you know, she's kind of afraid to talk to people, kind of afraid to stand up for herself. And that's literally her whole character at first. She places a lot of emphasis on finding her soulmate, and that ultimately changing her life and getting her out of this situation. Well, she lives with her boyfriend Doug, and I hate Doug. I do hate Doug. She gets her match, and even though Caitlin and Doug have agreed that their relationship would end if either received the soulmate match, Doug is not pleased with being forced to move out and does all he can to stay. He straight up says no, and she's like, "You need to leave." I hate Doug.
Is white male audacity, like
white male audacity,
and also abusive,
manipulative, a lot of things. And I was just like so frustrated in that moment. After Caitlin meets Nathan, her soulmate, she throws out her slacker boyfriend. That's what Wikipedia said. I would never say that. He's a dick and I don't like him. I would have said other words, but I'm glad slacker boyfriend is available. Basically, Nathan gives her the confidence that she needs to do it. When they first meet, Nathan is a doctor.
Okay.
He talks about how he worked on the front lines during a war or something. Or no,
like that's I think what he was talking about.
He was a doctor. Either I don't think it was a war. I think he was just like in a place that like after a natural disaster or something like that.
He says on the front lines,
first responder. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So and then he decides that he wants to like help in the practice. So he goes like he works at a medical practice instead back home. And it seems like a very calculated, smooth, calm, collected person. And Caitlin is revealed to have been in traumatic relationships before, very apologetic, very like they're almost opposites. Well, they are opposites really initially. And he just like talks her through a breathing exercise. And when it comes to like kicking Doug out, he's like, you do it. I believe in you, basically. And she does get the confidence to do it. And Nathan just seems like a really awesome person, even though at first when he pulls her into an alley, because they leave the diner and he pulls her into an alley, like his face changes to being super serious. And then he like moves her into the alley and I'm frightened for her because I'm like, nah, he's going to be another one of those people who end up being a traumatic or like abusive person. More on that later. And then later Nathan calls and invites Caitlin to his house where she arrives and
calls at like 3:00 in the morning, like some random hour of the night.
I'm going to say this now. So Nathan calls her and says, hey, come to my house. It's 3 a.m. I'm going to send you a cab. Nathan lives upstate. They make it seem like Caitlin is in the city. So in New York, in upstate, this is far. This is hours away. But she magically appears at his house. She's just there. All right, cool. She arrives.
And this is also after days of them not talking.
After days of them not talking. And then she pulls up because she just can't stop thinking about him. And then in the window, it looks like he's cheating on her. But then he actually turns around to murder another woman in front of her.
Yeah.
Caitlin then time travels back to her own home in the same night somehow. And then Nathan also arrives at her home in the same night from upstate.
Maybe she was Upper East Side and he was like, I don't even fucking know upstate. Maybe he was like Purchase or something. I don't know.
The plot device that people use in this episode is time, and they throw it away and they say we can be anywhere. Or
the magic of cars in New York City's roads
and the cleanest buses you've ever seen in your entire life.
Buses
I've never seen any of these things, but you're supposed to believe that this is New York. But Nathan admits that he assumes that Caitlin was matched to him because she has the same tendencies. But Caitlin at first kind of like draws him in, and then she's shocked and she's like, "Get out of here!" Nathan hits her with the puppy dog eyes, and he's like, "I'm a murderer, but look, I'm sweet." And I almost fell for it too. I was like, "Why are you kicking him out? He's a murderer." Okay, got it. However, Caitlin slowly begins to discover her feelings have been long suppressed. She starts to have visions of killing Doug whenever he's like talking about work or he's snoring. They were hilarious. She just straight up like went from kind of just regular, I'm dealing with this, to I could get rid of this dude. And she's thinking about it. And then some guy in the alley actually attacks her. And she uses a taser at first and then walks away. And then kind of remembers Nathan and walks back and starts tasing him to oblivion and smiling. And she enjoys it. Is this man dead? We don't know. This show doesn't care about that. Nathan then texts her like, yo, I peeped what you did to that dude in the alley. Did that feel good? And she was like...
That text was mad funny to me. I was there.
He was like, I saw you. I saw you, bro. And it's like, I was there. And he is there. If you go back to the scenes, actually, at the end of the thing, you can actually see him standing there. But Caitlin continues to deny her feelings, even though she's kind of thinking, like, I did enjoy that. So Nathan kidnaps Doug. Like, I'm going to just basically accelerate this process and takes him upstate. I put his upstate, like, mad close because, again, in the same night, we managed to go back upstate. And Caitlin goes to his house. And Doug is tied up. So Nathan encouraged her to kill Doug. And Doug is like, no, don't kill me. And
it was like pathetic pleading for his life. Like, you could have done better.
I was like, please, like, beg, bro. And then she kills Doug. But then when Nathan goes to embrace Caitlin, like, oh, we're similar, she also kills Nathan. And then the episode closes and opens. It's the same scene with of her talking to a different man at a bar and saying that she no longer is with her soulmate because she doesn't like the way he treats women. And she credits her soulmate for helping her to see who she really is. And she also says she has a thing for doctors, which is like,
after the man
that's
says
cute. Yeah, that's supposed to be like a little thing because Nathan is a doctor. So this episode stars Sonia Cassidy as Allison, aka holy shit, this woman looks mad kind. She was just like, I don't know how she emoted.
She's Marie in Breaking Bad. I don't know if you ever saw Breaking Bad.
No, I've never seen it.
Yeah, okay, she's Marie Crystals.
Her face
Somebody
was
wants
like,
me to say that.
I was like, oh my gosh, she's just in a situation. She was really good at portraying that.
Yeah.
And then JJ Field as Nathan, aka okay, I'm a murderer, but look how sweet I am, because I love this guy.
I developed feelings for that man. I was unfortunately.
Like, he was very much like, okay, like
it was the eyes.
It was the eyes, but it was like, and there was so many moments where she was like, yo, but you're like basically going like, but you're a murderer. And he was like, okay,
yeah, but
like and then she was just like, okay, did the lady do anything to you? No, but like I like killing. So, and it was very much
you
like,
do too, babe.
Yeah, like, and it's like you had to have been. And even at one point when he said that, I was like, oh my God, he just wants to like, he showed her who he really was because he wanted to connect. And I was like, when you don't think about it like that, you're like, nah.
When you remove the murder of it all from it.
Like, oh, he just wanted to reveal himself. And he was like, finally, someone who understands me, because we had to have been matched for a reason. And that was like, this was such a good way to end it. I was like, yes. The themes for me were like control, taking that control, people taking control from another person, just like killing as a means of control, confidence and manipulation as a means of control. And then they had a lot of loud love songs during like very dark scenes, or just like things that you shouldn't be having, like how wonderful it is to feel or something like that. And like as you're tasting the guy, that was cute, I guess. So my question that I wrote, but it's also my what would you do when we talk about it later, is like, is you talk about everyone having a soulmate, right? And people are capable of doing really dark shit. Is everyone deserving of love, or does everyone have this soulmate that is like similar? But then I was also thinking like, I wrote this guy's a murderer like as soon as I saw him walking down the street towards the alley, and I was like, he's a murderer, like straight up, like they have to do this because it's the one thing that like people don't want to talk about, but there are people in the world who are like, who do things like this. If everyone could take this test, do murderers match with each other? Do rapists match with each other? Do these type of people, do they match up? I put, why do I love Nathan? Because I wanted to marry this man, even though I knew. And I just like, and then I put, they just killed that dude, LOL, what? Because Doug, like, sure, he was straight up like trash.
Not deserving of death.
But we didn't have to kill him, man. That was you could have just killed Nathan. Like, you didn't even have to, she did not have to kill Doug.
But
so I was like, no, she wanted to. And I was like, I didn't want her to be a killer though. I didn't. What I wanted her to be was more of a sympathizer, in terms of just like, which, I mean, she could be a killer, but I really wanted him to be a killer, and like that was her soulmate, so she was willing to deal with it. So it made it seem like, oh, okay, like you're willing to do anything for this soulmate, even if it's something that you know objectively like is not okay, rather than her going all the way to his side and also being a killer. So that's why, like, I kind of wish it was that. But I mean, I could understand why they went that route too, because at the end of the day, but I didn't know if like, was she a killer because he was a killer, and then it was like this nurture thing again, confirmation bias, like, okay, well, my soulmate's a killer, so I must be a killer, as opposed to like, okay, I see you, and like I understand. I like, they made her character that way on purpose, but like I would have liked it if she was just like a regular person who happened to be matched with a killer, but she sympathized with him in a way because she understood what it was like to want to take back this control, or etc. Then I was also wondering, like, with the end, was she still a killer? Like they said that she found out who she was, and like, is that a more confident person, or is that a killer? And so I didn't know if she was, and then I was like, if she was going to be a killer anyway, why did she kill Nathan? She could have just stayed with him, but I guess it was the treating women and being specific about that. But like, if she's only killing doctors, which is what it seemed like she's doing, then she's not any better. She might as well just let him live. Like they could have been together, you know. Like I'm still kind of like
I only kill doctors. That's
and it's like it was strange. Like that left a little bit of a question because I was just like, okay, is she more confident? And that's what he made her realize, and he had to get rid of her because she had to get rid of him because ultimately, like, you can't be out here killing people. But then she killed Doug, so there was a lot of questions. But I understood it and I respected this, and I like really enjoyed this episode because it was another moment of just like, I would have never thought of that, but it makes sense. And in this universe, in the world we live in, who else is gonna get matched up?
Right, for sure.
Know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched Dexter?
Yes, and there's a lot of Dexter in there.
Yeah, this is the every episode is like a different show. This is the Dexter episode. That's interesting. I didn't think about that, but like her being a sympathizer, like she would have been his Harry. Like this is how you kill morally. That would have been kind of cute, but
and that's what I'm thinking, you know, like, but
yeah. I also really enjoyed this episode. I'm just gonna run through my notes and then we'll wrap up the episode. New York City buses do not fucking look like that. I've been in the city my whole life. It's never looked like that. You're faking, you're phony.
They never portray it right on TV. Like,
just like look at
go on a bus.
Google image. You could Google images MTA bus and you see the inside and you see that it's not that weird cloth. I was like, are they in Canada? And then she walked out and said Sheepshead Bay, and I was like, wait, what?
Stop trying to make New York. Just go there.
Yeah.
Just do it.
I was very confused by her as a character in the beginning because it's victim blamey.
Yes.
But some of the things she was doing didn't make sense. So like she thinks somebody is following her and she's on a busy New York street, but then she goes down an alley, just walk in the corner store.
I shout at screens when I watch things all the time. And my first thought was just like, okay, I've been in this situation before. I had no idea if this person was following me.
And I pull out my keys and I'm ready to sock you in the face.
Stay on the busy street.
Exactly.
And then when she dropped the keys, I was like, man.
Yeah, dropped the keys, it became a horror movie. Like,
I was like, man, at this point, and then it's very victim blaming, and I'm watching a TV show. I was like, bitch, you deserve it at this point. What the hell? You went to your house? You beeline to your home?
She went to her actual home. I was like, you don't know where you lived? It turns out that person was not.
Yeah, it was just paranoia. And yeah.
But then she goes inside, and at that point, I thought that Doug was her husband. I was like, why the fuck didn't you call someone? Like, you pull out your keys and you get on the phone with somebody, and you're like, yo, somebody is following me.
Yeah.
Like, walk me home through the phone. That was weird. Then I just said, is that Louis C.K. LMAO? Doug looked like Louis C.K. And now it explains why he's a fucking scumbag.
True.
I think it looks so much like that. Shout out to that actor. I hope that actor is not actually a scumbag in real life. It was kind of funny to me when Doug was like, yo, I'm staying. It was very audacity, but it was kind of funny to me.
It was so like, I was like, wait.
Like, how could you just stay? Why would you stay?
I'm not doing that.
Especially after Nathan shows up with her. Like, territory has been marked. You're just still here.
He's like, you brought him as backup? Like, yeah, I did. Get out.
Fuck out, nigga. Okay, so at that point,
I think it froze.
Yeah, I'm back now. Sorry.
Okay.
At that point, I was like, all right. I thought that at least Nathan was a narcissist. I wasn't sure if he was a serial killer or whatever. But at that point, I was questioning. So, what if your serial killer is? What if your serial
killer is your soulmate? What if
Thanks for killing me, babe. What if your soulmate is a serial killer or a rapist or whatever? And then the show went to it. So I was like, good job, guys. Because like you said, I had that same line of thinking like, okay, not everybody in the world is a great person. So do not great people match with other not great people or whatever? Then I just like went in my bag and I was like, I dated someone like this. But then it was revealed that Nathan was more than a narcissist. He was an actual serial killer. So I take that back. I have not dated someone like that. That I know of.
I hope not. Oh my God.
It seemed like he was love bombing to me, which is why I got that narcissist thing, because at first he was like, we're going to change your life and kick out Doug and you're so awesome and this is how you tap into yourself. And then he did not respond to her for like 5 days. So I was like, that's love bombing.
Meanwhile, he was out here murdering people,
that's what was going on. The love song soundtrack was a nice nod. The whole episode was called the Power Ballad of Caitlin Jones. So this was like her ballad. Yeah. But it was like, it was cool because it was like not, she thought that she wanted romantic love, but it was like cringy, but like she wants love for herself. And in that could be the fact that she's a killer or not. We'll debate that later. After he looked up after murdering that first woman is when I fell in love with that man. His eyes were like, so Sweet.
I know. And I was like,
what?
Am I watching like Nathan? Just like, I'm sorry. Am I intruding? I'll come back.
Like, what? Are you just
I'm
brushing
so
your
ashamed.
hair? Like, why are you? And then I wrote down, why am I attracted to this man? Shaking my fucking head.
I felt it. It was
for doing
specifically
shit
that
like
scene
that.
in the house when she was like, come here, like kind of come. And he was like, all right, I'm coming. Like, I thought we were. And then when
It was an
she was like,
innocence to him.
when she was like, go, and he was like, why?
It was a naivete to him.
Yes.
Like the guy from the last episode, but he was a serial killer,
Yeah.
unfortunately. This is the Snapped episode to me. It's also the Dexter episode, but this is very much Snapped, as well as episode 2. And then, yeah, I didn't note that he was a doctor, so I was like, what? You have a thing for doctors?
He was doctor.
Maybe not evidence in the episode, but what I wanted was for her to be kind of a Dexter type serial killer in that, yes, she is a killer now. She only kills people who do women wrong. I think that would have been fully like curled over if they revealed that that man in the last episode was bad in some sort of way. So I thought that like when she sipped her drink, I thought there was going to be like roofie in the drink or something like that. Or like she was going to turn away and he was going to like put a little something in there. I thought that would have been like a better way to tie it up, but it was very open-ended, so I don't know what the fuck I don't know if she's a killer or not.
Well, I enjoyed
it
though.
Good last episode.
It was and a good show. I think we liked the show because we
talked about it for 2.5 hours.
We did, and hopefully you guys like the show. Hopefully you guys talk about it. No one's watched the show and they're just like, wow, thanks for letting us know about this. Like, I'm not going to watch it, but we appreciate it.
Thanks for telling me everything I need to know about it.
Because we did.
Yeah, we did. Are we going to do the what would you do?
Yeah. This one's just more of a question because I think it's posed. It's just like, is everyone deserving of love? And this is a moral or ethical question.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean like if you're a serial killer, you don't have consequences for your actions, but can someone love you? Yeah, sure, man.
I think another bonus,
especially with those puppy dog eyes.
Yeah,
I love you.
No, question is, do you think that she was a serial killer or like killer tendencies, or she became one because of that? Do you think
that's a great question?
Yeah.
Another thing that would have made it curl over for me is if we saw inkling of that earlier, or like
any small thing.
Yes, because he was definitely, and this is why I had it as one of the show themes, he was definitely to me a psychopath, but she seemed very empathetic and not that. So yeah,
and I think they tried to touch on that when she was doing the bucket story, and she was like, I've been doing the good thing my whole life, so maybe my bucket fills in another way. But I wish that they had, like you said, and that's a good point, I didn't even think about it, if they had dropped even a small hint earlier. This is something that we were talking about with the boys, where it's like, don't just tell me this character is suddenly this way. Like, if you had just, even when she was just like a homeless person or somebody in the beginning like was rude to her or something like that, and she was just like, I want to hurt them, but then nothing happens, then I'd be like, that was it. Even one moment, but it was just like, it felt very much like, because this was happening, now I'm starting to feel this way.
Which maybe that was intentional, and maybe that goes back to the like, am I acting this way because a capitalistic company has told me this is my soulmate and I need to act this way?
Yes.
Because it kind of reminds me of like people who legit fall in love with serial killers, not Sam and Rebecca being like, this guy has cute eyes, but like people who like, oh, I'm gonna write to Ted Bundy in jail and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like, do they love this man? Which I don't really know how you do that if you've never met him at the very least. Or are you enthralled with
idea?
Exactly, because the media has covered this person, and now you feel like you can be an accomplice to their exploits or whatever they're killing. I should really just call it what it is. Like, maybe she was caught up in that to that point. I did like that she killed him at the end, though. It's funny to me. I was like, man, if she kills him, I'm gonna be weak. Like, and then he got killed, and I was like, he was
just like, come here, babe.
Let's go on our killing adventures now. Nah, you're dead too. Good show though. Would you give it a number rating? Out of 10?
8 out of 10.
I would give it that too.
Yeah.
I would give it an 8 out of 10.
I'm surprised because I've seen a varying amount of, like, I've seen a 6. I've seen, and I haven't read the reviews. I think I will. I don't think it deserves a 6 at all. It was very strange. But I would definitely give it an 8. It had its moments where I was just like, obviously, like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there was holes in the plot, but like in terms of like being an all-encompassing like idea and really honing in on that idea and selling it and really making me like, I believe that this is happening. I'm in this universe. I care about these characters for sure. Like definitely an 8 out of 10. I would recommend it for sure.
Same.
Yeah.
And it never didn't be what it was.
Exactly.
Like
yes.
it
never didn't be what it was. It's exactly. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
It was never like we are so low and then tried to go high. It was never so high and then tried to go low. It is Black Mirror-esque, but it is not Black Mirror.
Yep.
You are not going to get that level of social commentary from this.
They are not doing
but it's
that.
Fine.
They are. I think they are committed to what they want to tell us. They're committed to telling these stories, and they do a good job doing it.
Yes.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Holiday binge watching. AMC,
do it.
Give
y'all.
us a podcast.
Straight up.
Give us a podcast to review stuff.
Look at us. Time and energy.
Exactly.
Well thought out. Themes, thematic, scores. Do it. We'll do it. We like it.
For a check. All right. We hope everyone enjoyed that episode, and we hope you all enjoy the rest of the year. I hope this year ends happily, healthily, safely, and I legitimately mean that. I'm laughing because I am a dark humor ass bitch, but I legitimately mean that. Everybody, take the time and space that you need to fill yourselves up, and we'll see you next year.
Yeah.
If you do want to write to us in the interim, we did not do a fuck you this episode, but we will be doing those when we get back. You can ask us for some advice, share your hotels, rant against the white cishet patriarchy, send your thoughts to igpodcast@gmail.com. Please include your pronouns, because we're in the future. You can leave us a voicemail, 404-491-9158 to do that. That is in the show notes. And yeah, let us know if you enjoyed this review episode, if you want more reviews from us, if you never want to review ever the fuck again.
We went all out. If you don't fuck with it, let us know. I mean, we might do small segments still, but like this is the first time we've ever been like, fuck it, we're doing the whole show.
Exactly.
And we're out here trying to give you guys what you want. So if you want this more, let us know. If you hated it and you're like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? We got to know that too.
We're experimenting.
Yes.
All right. As always, if this episode made you laugh, helped you learn something, made you feel good, made you question yourself in a good way, or positively moved you in any sense, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, and let everyone you know that you love these hoes. Also subscribe to us on YouTube. We appreciate all of you. Goodbye till 2021.
Yes. And if you would like to follow us on social media, I know that sounds like she's like, peace.
I'm done. It's 8:30 and I'm over it.
We're like, yo, I'm just gonna stick this out for y'all, okay? Because it's been tough. If you would like to follow us on social media, you could do so at Inner Hope Rising without the G on Twitter, Inner Hope Rising on Instagram and Facebook. You could join our Facebook group by searching Inner Hope Rising, CUMMUNITY. Head over to Inner Hope Rising to pay a hoe. And if you want to follow me personally, you can at The Darkest Timeline on Instagram and Existing Crisis on Twitter. My pronouns are she and her.
Slam Rid, Instagram and Twitter for all kinds of shiznit.
All right, now we out. Bye.